Outside the hospital room, a young man stared at the faint glow of his phone screen. Balance, $19. He kept looking at it as if the numbers might change through sheer will. They didn't. The longer he stared, the emptier his eyes became, filled with helplessness, anxiety, and quiet fear. "Hey, are you listening?" The doctor beside him sighed when he caught sight of the screen. His voice carried the kind of pity that felt like poison. "We can only keep her for 3 more days. That's how long her current payments cover. After that," he didn't finish. He didn't need to. On the clipboard in his hands was a picture of a woman in her 20s, beautiful, vibrant, and alive. Inside the room, the same woman lay pale and sunken, her skin graying and her stomach hollowing in, a victim of an evolutionist ley line fracture. When those fractures appeared, they tore open passages between reality and the evolutionist catacombs, letting beasts pour out and slaughter everything in sight. Even the advanced humans couldn't stop them all. She'd been struck by one with a venom so potent it demanded an impossible cure, either a synthesized potion or treatment from a healer-level advanced human. Both required money far beyond the reach of anyone unawakened. The doctor looked at Achilles again, pity deepening into resignation. "Achilles, right? You don't share a last name, so I'm guessing she's not family. Look, I know it's hard, but you should face reality. With what you have, she doesn't stand chance. If I were you..." He didn't get to finish. The next instant, his back slammed into the wall, charts scattering across the floor. Achilles stood in front of him, fists trembling, eyes burning red. "Don't," he growled. The doctor shoved him away, face twisted with anger. "You idiot. I'm trying to help you. She'll die in 3 days. What can you do, you, an unawakened nobody?" His words echoed through the sterile hallway. Achilles said nothing. He just turned and walked out. Rain met him outside the hospital, falling hard against the neon glow of the colony city of Neon. Above, aerial evolutionist vehicles streaked across the dark sky, their purple and blue engines humming like thunder. The skyline burned with light, towering hospitals, glass skyscrapers, and skyways filled with flying cars. A world of steel and color that looked alive, yet felt so cold. This was Athemia, a world once nearly destroyed by evolutionist beasts, now rebuilt by the power of advanced humans. Cities reborn, governments strengthened, and beneath every colony city, the endless maze of evolutionist catacombs, the very heart of danger and opportunity. Down there lay evolutionist crystals, the lifeblood of every advanced human, the source of their strength, their wealth, their power. And for ordinary people like Achilles, they were nothing but unreachable dreams. He clenched his fists. For Rose, the woman who had cared for him when everyone else was gone, the one person left in his life, he couldn't let her die. Not like this. If she was thrown out of the hospital, her life would end within days. And if she died, what reason did he have to live in this world that had already taken everything? Rain rolled down his face as he looked up at the stormy sky. Lightning flashed. An advanced human descended, wrapped in crackling blue energy, carrying another wounded one in his arms. The bystanders barely reacted. For them, it was just another night in Neon. Achilles watched in silence, then took a breath that trembled with both fear and resolve. Maybe he couldn't buy a potion. Maybe he couldn't hire a healer. But there was one path left. He reached into his pocket, pulled out his phone, and opened the official Linares Colony Overseer app, a system every human was required to install. On the screen, a simple question appeared. Have you awakened as an advanced human? Y/N. He stared at it for a long moment as the rain fell harder, neon light flickering in his eyes. And tonight, he decided to give it a different answer. The streets blazed with light, streaks of violet running along the sidewalks like veins of energy. Above the crowds, banners shimmered, holographic signs flashing directions to hotels, markets, and training centers. One caught Achilles' eye. Evolutionist Catacomb, entrance number 55. The arrow beneath it pointed toward a wide avenue packed with people. Streams of advanced humans and civilians flowed in and out, the air alive with motion. As Achilles moved through the crowd, the world around him glittered with wealth. Luxurious aerial evolutionist vehicles descended in soft hums, releasing powerful hunters in gleaming armor. Normal humans hurried to greet them, guiding their clients toward grand hotels, restaurants, and neon-lit pleasure halls built to pamper those who had faced death underground. This district pulsed with money and danger, the lifeblood of the colony city of Neon. But Achilles wasn't here for pleasure. He kept his head low, jaw set. His decision was already made. To save Rose, he needed evolutionist crystals, and the only place to find them was inside the catacombs. He had no powers, no enhancements, no awakening. Yet he'd heard rumors of lucky scavengers, ordinary people who slipped inside, mined crystals, and made it out alive. It was a gamble, one where losing meant death. But if he didn't try, Rose was already dead. "Please," he muttered under his breath as he opened the Linares Overseer app on his phone. On the glowing screen, the question appeared. "Have you awakened as an advanced human?" Y/N. He exhaled shakily and pressed Y. The display exploded in fanfare and golden light. "Your selection has been saved. Proceed to the nearest advanced human evaluation center to verify and assign your rank." A small map appeared, an evaluation center just under a mile away. The app minimized itself, leaving a single line flashing at the bottom. "Pending evaluation." Perfect. That was all he needed to bluff his way in. Normally, no one but verified advanced humans could enter the evolutionist catacombs. But sometimes, if you looked confident enough and lucky enough, security didn't check too closely. He walked toward entrance number 55. The air buzzed with energy as he approached the towering neon gates, flanked by armed guards. They weren't advanced humans, just heavily equipped civilians carrying modified rifles that glowed red and blue under the rain. Beyond them shimmered a blue portal, swirling like liquid light, the doorway into the maze of the catacombs. Every few minutes, teams of advanced humans strode in or emerged from the portal. Some carried massive blades, others shouldered plasma cannons or gleaming hammers. They didn't even slow down for the guards. Those of lower rank stopped briefly to flash their holographic badges, their ranks displayed in brilliant color. Achilles took a steadying breath. His own screen still read, "Pending evaluation." He couldn't hesitate now. He straightened, letting his expression harden into that mix of confidence and irritation all advanced humans seemed to wear. Then he walked forward, steady, cold, unflinching. Dumb. His heartbeat thundered in his chest. If they stopped him, he'd be exposed. But he forced the thought away. He couldn't think of failure now. "Sir," one of the guards called as he passed. "Verification page, please." Achilles turned his head slightly, eyes sharp and voice clipped with annoyance. "You really want to waste my time?" he said, flashing his phone so the pending evaluation screen caught the light. "Those idiots at the evaluation center are already delaying my update. Don't tell me a guard wants to make it worse." The guard hesitated, exchanging a look with his partner. Many advanced humans were arrogant, some violent. Picking a fight with one was never worth it. The second guard shrugged slightly, let him go. Achilles slipped the phone back into his pocket and walked on. Dumb. His pulse beat like war drums as the glowing portal loomed closer. A normal human stepping where only monsters and gods walked. He stopped for just a breath, staring at the swirling blue light that seemed to hum with power and death. If he failed, no one would ever find his body. But if he succeeded, Rose would live. With fear burning beneath his determination, Achilles took his first step through the portal, into the abyss of the evolutionist catacombs.
Hey everyone, Firescale Audiobooks here. If there's a novel you'd love to hear more of, you can support us on Patreon or Ko-fi. Depending on your tier, I'll make extra parts just for the stories you're most excited about. Usually I can only upload 4 to 5 parts of each novel, but with your support, we can go beyond that. And of course, don't forget to hit subscribe. It helps more than you know.
Evolutionist Catacomb entrance number 55. Achilles passed through it as his body only felt like light flashed around him, and he then found himself in an entirely different place. It was inside what looked like a long and dark tunnel. It was lit up with dim, purple stones embedded in the walls, and the blue portal he had just come from was right behind him. Ahead of him, he saw the single tunnel he was in branching into 9 paths, and there was only darkness within those paths as he couldn't make out anything. It could be throngs of evolutionous beasts, or it could be paths that were recently cleared by advanced humans and no beasts were roaming. Either way, there was nothing to give him any possible sense of protection, as he only felt a sense of fear of anything that might pop out. No matter how tough he tried to make himself, he still could not wipe away this fear. He only turned 21 this year. Working in construction jobs to make a living, he was somewhat fit, but nothing compared to evolutionous beasts. He would entirely and completely be shredded the moment that one appeared, as what he prayed and relied on at this moment was sheer luck and chances. Luck to not come across evolutionous beasts. Luck to find evolutionous crystals. He looked at the dim purple stones that lit up the nearby paths, as he knew an evolutionous crystals would look like a genuine purple crystal that shone with a bright radiance. Nothing like these stones, so he had to go deeper. He looked at the 9 paths, and without thinking too much, he walked towards the rightmost path. He may come across advanced humans. He may come across beasts. But unless he actually moved forward, he wouldn't obtain anything. His steps were light as he delved into the darkness. The purple stones that lit up the path behind him seemed to be getting fewer and fewer. He pressed on the flashlight icon on his phone as he proceeded across. Very soon, he came across another fork. This time, only 4 paths were visible, as once more, he took the rightmost path. The fear within him only increased as he found nothing and felt nothing, but he constantly expected a monster to rush out at any moment. In such a state of stress, he didn't know how long passed as he went further in. He didn't come across anything, even though it was common knowledge that over time, evolutionous crystals naturally form within catacombs. He hoped to come across newly forming evolutionous crystals without having to delve too deep. But with every passing second, this hope seemed further and further away. Until, boom, he felt distant vibrations that caused even the hard earth around him to shake. Vibrations that caused him to pause with a sense of trepidation. Up ahead, the tunnel he was walking through curved as there. He could see flashing lights as well as hear distinct roars. Roars of beasts that caused his heart to beat faster. Danger. Every part of him screamed danger and told him to turn back. But he stuffed this feeling as far down as he could and proceeded ahead slowly. He came across the corner of the winding path as he peeked in. And there, was a scene that caused him to nearly gasp as he held himself back. A scene of blood as 2 evolutionous beasts that were shaped like spiked lions lay dead. One having their fur frozen and skewered by spears of ice, while the other was nearly burnt to cinders. And 3 advanced humans with a suffocating sense of pressure were facing a third, much more massive evolutionous beast that was burning with red flames around it at this moment. Its body filled with injuries as it opened its mouth to release a ring of flames, and then turned around and ran. Shit, do not let the pack leader run away. The advanced human at the very center of the 3, a woman wielding a spiked icy mace, roared out while shooting ahead. Behind her, 2 male advanced humans who both had their fists burning with flames looked at each other before they also shot ahead. They left behind 2 dead evolutionous beasts and a pathway filled with blood. Achilles looked at all of this breathlessly for a second, as he also knew another critical factor. Evolutionous beasts held evolutionous crystals inside of their heads. Different evolutionous beasts held different variations of crystals, but even the lowest tier evolutionous beasts made advanced humans very wealthy. If he could obtain the evolutionous crystals from even a single evolutionous beast. He stopped thinking. He knew he had to move fast, mainly because at this moment, he wanted to steal from advanced humans. Something that, if they caught him doing, would kill him without even a shred of hesitation. But since he decided on it, he moved quickly. He stifled the fear of the terrifying beast twice his size, lying lifelessly ahead as he ran towards the one that had its body skewered by ice spikes. Across its head, There was an ice spike that pierced through his inside of its skull. A sparkling radiance was leaking out. Achilles felt a mixture of fear and relief from this as he looked around, grabbing a shard of ice that caused his hands to feel a horrid freezing sensation. He used this shard of ice to stab into and enlarge the wound on the skull of this beast as slowly it enlarged. He saw 3 dazzling purple crystals the size of half his fist lying beside brain matter, and he reached out to grab them quickly. When he pulled his hands out, he found himself holding 3 dazzling purple spiked crystals. Evolution crystals. Dumb. He felt the beat of his heart clearly once more as he controlled himself. He knew there was little time left, as he didn't know when those advanced humans would return, so he wouldn't even bother trying to dig out the evolution crystals on the burnt beast opposite him. Greed killed, and he had already gotten far too lucky already, as he wouldn't test the limits of his luck. So he would. Gore. A low, heavy growl echoed out and froze him in place. It was too close. He barely had the strength to turn around as he saw it. It was the dead evolution beast that looked charred beyond recognition, and it seemed that it could not at all be presumed dead. It rose from where it stood weakly, but the ferociousness within it still burned brightly, its right paw with charred claws already raised up as it swung down. Achilles felt a rush of terror and adrenaline, as he could only raise his hands to defend by instinct. Boom! The impact was so heavy that he felt like every bone within his body creaked and nearly shattered. He felt his back smashing onto the wall of the wide tunnel behind him, his mouth opening to gasp for breath as he felt pain all around. But worst of all, the sharp evolution crystals he held in his hands had pierced into his skin as his blood flowed freely from the open wounds. His head buzzed. His ears rang. He felt the stifling threat of death as in the face of it, he was unwilling. He knew what he was doing was stupid. He knew the chances were low. But truly, he didn't want her to die. She was the only one left. When he was at his lowest, she was there for him. He wanted to be there for her. He felt the shooting pain across his body as he used this pain and focused, opening his eyes to see the scorched evolution beast making its way over to him. It was also wounded just like him. In its state, it may not be able to chase after him if he could outrun it. He just had to secure the evolution crystals. And, he stared dumbly at his bloodied hands where the evolution crystals were. 3 of them. At this moment, they were gone. They had disappeared. The little hope he had left within him dwindled as he stared at his hands blankly. They were there. They were just gore. The low growl of the scorched evolution beast rang out again as its ugly scrotum-like burnt appearance was right ahead of him. It raised its claw again as Achilles looked towards it with a sense of fear and defiance. He thought he didn't fear death, but when it was right in front of him, he felt his insignificant life flash before his eyes as the claw of the evolution beast thundered down, and he couldn't help but scream out in defiance. Boom! The heavy claw came down. Achilles closed his eyes as he waited for the burst of terrifying pain and darkness that would follow. He waited. He waited. The pain didn't come. He felt a strain, yes, and he could swear that he felt a burning sensation across his body. But it wasn't pain. He opened his eyes hesitantly once more as he saw the injured evolution beast pulling away and licking its wounds. Even this beast undoubtedly believed him to be dead. After all, what normal human could survive 2 strikes from an evolution beast? Achilles blinked at this as fear and confusion mixed in with a sense of hope. Only a single thought in his mind. He didn't know what happened, but if he could use this chance to escape, his mind became firm. He felt his injured body as at this moment, even though he knew it would be a weak effort and extremely painful, he had to move. So he screamed towards his torn muscles. He screamed at the burning pain he felt. He told it to move. And boom! His figure shockingly erupted out from the slight caving of the wall that the evolution beast had smashed him into as he moved at high speeds to smash diagonally onto the opposite wall. The evolution beast that was just starting to lick its wounds was stupefied. What the hell was that? Achilles himself was stupefied. His injured body. That heat that he felt. What? He could not fathom what the hell was happening when suddenly, in the corner of his eyes, he saw a flashing blue box of light. Within this box, there were words that only became amplified when he focused on them. In a second, it became extremely clear. Achilles Maxwell, assimilation, organic crystal, evolution crystals, 3%, obtain qualities of regeneration, energy conversion, flexibility, light manipulation, existence corruption value, 0%, complexity, negligible. He stared at the panel of words blankly for a full 10 seconds before he even reacted. He checked his body to be sure. He still found blood on his hands, but the wounds he had sustained, holy shit, they were gone. He touched himself all over. He didn't feel any pain. He still felt that burning sensation, as at this moment, he realized that it seemed to be a source of strength. His mind flashed quickly, as he may not be a genius, but he quickly went through what may have just occurred. The disappearance of the 3 evolutions. The panel showing the words assimilation and listing evolution crystals there. He had absorbed them, assimilated them, he had awakened. The burning sensation and course of events were utterly surreal, as, at this moment, he didn't even have the luxury of time to think about it too much. There was an injured evolution beast nearby, and the advanced humans he was effectively stealing from could return at any time. He dug himself out of the man-made hole on the wall as he looked towards the burnt evolution beast that had been staring at him in shock, but now roared towards him and lunged once more. But this time, it didn't seem as terrifying. Even its speed felt manageable to him. His mind still had the same fear as before, but he did his best to put it aside. Since he had already survived the strikes of this beast, what was a third one? With a sense of trepidation welling up within him, this time he struck back. As the claw swiped from left to right, he brought his right hand down like a hammer toward the head of the scorched evolution beast. His hand, he could swear that it glowed a faint purple at that moment. The same purple light that evolution crystals gave off. And once more, boom, a heavy impact echoed out. But it was not Achilles feeling this impact. His hand, covered by that purple light, had become faster as it smashed onto the head of the evolution beast first, causing a heavy boom as blood and brain matter exploded out. The coming claw of the evolution beast fell down weakly thereafter as Achilles remained frozen in place. His hand dripped of blood from the evolution beast, and he only became unfrozen when he saw the evolution crystals peeking out through the shattered head of this beast. He looked at them cautiously before he reached out and took 3 evolution crystals, just like last time. He was scared they would disappear and be absorbed into him again. But it didn't seem like they did this automatically, as he carefully placed them in his pockets. And he then looked at the surroundings without much further ado. He turned around and sprinted out towards the direction he came from. He did not want to wait for any more surprises, and he would not push his luck any longer. His luck was always poor. Achilles knew this far too well, as the few friends he used to have had one by one awakened, and contact was broken off over time as they entered entirely different places. His family was taken from him by a catacomb ley line fracture, and now, the only person who had taken him in was also hanging on by a thread after another ley line fracture nearly destroyed her. Luck was not by his side. Death followed him all around as he just wanted to turn his fate around if he could. Huff! He breathed out his fears while he ran, realizing that he was covering distance rapidly as he didn't feel a sense of tiredness. In fact, the burning sensation of power within his body felt even brighter as he felt like he could run a whole marathon. The reason for all of this was the panel he had been staring at as he ran away. Achilles Maxwell, assimilation, organic crystal, evolution crystals, 3%, obtain qualities of regeneration, energy conversion, flexibility, light manipulation, existence corruption value, 0%, complexity, negligible. He still couldn't believe it, but he would understand it later as, finally, he followed the same path he came through as the blue portal of the catacomb entrance number 55 showed itself ahead of him. He didn't let his guard down, even now, as he sprinted towards it, And at this time, SAA, the portal flashed as 4 advanced humans appeared from it, their expressions calm and smiling amongst each other. 2 men and 2 women. They had just entered when the body of Achilles rushed past them, with him not even turning around to exchange pleasantries. Whoosh! Their calm gazes changed rapidly as he passed them, all 4 getting into battle stances as they only captured his face as he ran past them. And the blue portal flashed once more. What the hell was that? He seemed bloodied all over. An advanced human adorned in a golden set of armor spoke out. He is fast. A physical reinforcement advanced human? He should not be bloodied in a place like this with low-tier body modification evolutionous beasts. Another voice perked up as they all looked at each other. Of the 4, one of the young women who had waves of frost emanating from her body blinked in surprise as she took out her phone and scrolled down to pictures from a few years back in her album. There, she found a few pictures as she clicked on one that had a group of 5 friends within it posing near a college dorm. She blinked further as she honed in on a young man with dark hair who was none other than Achilles. Beside her, the other advanced human nudged her as she saw her actions. "What is it, Lana?" "Oh, I just thought I saw someone I knew." "But it shouldn't be." She put her phone away as even though her hands were emanating frost, the phone was entirely protected by a cover reinforced with evolutionous crystals. "Let's go. I need to make at least $10 million by next week to be able to afford an upper-tier modification bodysuit. We may have to delve much deeper into the catacombs today," Lana voiced out with a determined gaze as forgetting the advanced human that had just rushed past them. They proceeded deeper into the catacombs. Outside of catacomb entrance number 55, a blue light flashed as Achilles appeared, his eyes bright as he didn't know he would feel so glad to see the bright lights of the colony city of Neon. He moved away from the entrance and towards the gate as the 2 guards there initially only spared him a glance. But after seeing his bloodied figure, they were stupefied as the one who had allowed him through less than an hour ago nearly reached out to stop him. But Achilles didn't stop for anything as the guards only looked at each other before shaking their heads. Many advanced humans were too absorbed in themselves with eccentric personalities as they wouldn't bother. They only saw the bloodied figure of Achilles mixing in with others as he was heading towards a certain direction with purpose. He ignored the gazes of any throngs of people who bothered enough to turn towards his direction, passing many tall and brightly lit buildings as he pulled out his phone that currently had a cracked screen and followed its instructions to arrive at the Advanced Human Evaluation Center. It looked to be 5 stories tall as it was bigger than a football stadium, with a crescent moon of the Linares Overseers enacted brightly above it. This was an important place for the colony city of Neon as here, advanced humans entered routinely to be evaluated and assigned their rankings. Rankings that changed constantly as they elevated themselves in power by utilizing evolutionous crystals and the resources found within the evolutionous catacombs. Achilles was here to just get the distinction of an advanced human and be able to gain access to the easiest way to sell evolutionous crystals to the government of the city of Neon itself. After that, he could use that money to ensure that Rose continued to receive care and then understand exactly what he needed to obtain to fully cure her. Sir, he was stopped by the glass doors of the evaluation center as a woman in a suit stopped him in place, her hands holding white clothing as she pointed to Achilles. "I see your clothing was ruined during your recent bout in the catacombs. The evaluation center likes to keep things clean and official. If Sir could follow me to a changing room before you proceed ahead." Achilles looked at himself as he saw his shirt and pants were ripped and filled with blood. It seemed routine for advanced humans to appear here with blood and guts around them, as the workers here were prepared. Achilles nodded at the woman holding a new set of white clothes as for the first time. He experienced how different the treatment was for advanced humans. After being led into a hallway and pointed towards a wide collection of bathrooms, showers, and changing rooms, Achilles washed the blood away from his body before he put on the white shirt and pants. The 3 evolutionous crystals smoothly transferred into the pockets of these new pants before he stepped out again. The attendant of the evaluation center was waiting for him with a smile outside the changing room as she asked, "Where would sir like to go?" The temperaments of advanced humans could change at any time, as when normal humans dealt with them. There was always a level of care and respect, whether forced or not. "I need to have my ranking evaluated." "Oh." Surprise arose in the eyes of the attendant, as normally, one would have to obtain their rank first before entering the catacombs. So how did this advanced human have so much blood on him? She shook her head soon after, as this wasn't her business, and Achilles was led across the winding halls of the evaluation center. He saw other advanced humans moving about. Many attendants held clipboards as they watched for anyone who needed help. And eventually, he was led into a wide auditorium where the attendant pointed him through with a smile. He nodded at her and entered as within the wide auditorium. Explosions resounded ever so often. Reinforced walls were seen all around, as at the very forefront, advanced humans in suits holding shining tablets looked towards Achilles. A man with a shining bald head locked onto Achilles as he entered, his expression calm as he asked, "Initial evaluation or reevaluation?" "Initial." The procedure was fairly simple. Achilles pulled out his phone as the barcode that had popped up since he selected the yes option was scanned, his information rising up on the tablet as the advanced human examiner in front of him was surprised. "Achilles Maxwell, 21. You're a late bloomer. But better late than never." His information was processed as he was led into the auditorium, passing through multiple white reinforced hallways and walls before he was led into one of the many isolated rooms within this wide auditorium. There were cameras in all corners of the white room he was in, along with multiple test dummies made of tough materials. Achilles was called a late bloomer, as normally, by the age of 18, those who would awaken did so. Rarely did those older awaken if it didn't occur then. On one of the walls to his left, he saw his profile laid out as currently a section with evaluation pending could be seen. The evaluation for advanced humans is simple. Most newly awakened humans fit into the category of low-tier body modification. Your cells become increasingly active towards change as your innate ability develops, gradually changing your body, modifying your body. As he spoke, the advanced human examiner raised his left hand, and a clump of brown earth slowly formed on his palm until a sharp stone formed. You are made stronger, faster, and depending on which innate ability you awakened, you can even gain elemental qualities early. Above low-tier body modification, your body takes a qualitative leap when it takes a step forward to become an advanced human with middle-tier body modification, and above that, an upper-tier body modification advanced human. After that, body modification reaches a peak, as past, it is the stage where those who delve deepest into the evolutionist catacombs to help humanity clear evolutionist beasts, advance humans at the meridian transformation stage. Anything past that is too far for people like you or me, so which ability did you awaken? Which ability did he awaken? He looked at the panel visible only to him in the corner of his eyes. Achilles Maxwell, assimilation, organic crystal, evolutionist crystals, 3%. Obtain qualities of regeneration, energy conversion, flexibility, light manipulation. Existence corruption value, 0%. Complexity, negligible. He was assimilating organic crystals, as they actually gave him 4 things. He did not know the extent and power of all of this, so to be cautious, he kept it simple. Body reinforcement. He could reinforce his body, make it stronger. Oh, the evaluation examiner had a light of disappointment flash as he pushed up his glasses and selected a few things on his tablet. The dummies behind me have the hardness of low-tier evolutionist beasts. If you can dent or tear through them, I'll be able to assign you a low-tier body modification ranking right away. Dummies. Achilles looked at the dummies that had angry faces drawn on them, their humanoid figures stationed in place as he nodded. He just came for the official ranking of an advanced human. Everything else would follow after this. He went forward and stood in front of one of the dummies, breathing in and out as he remembered the scorched evolutionist beast that his hand had crushed the skull of. He remembered the burning feeling of power in his body. The cameras on the corners of the room focused on him as in the next moment. A purple glow covered his body as his fist shot out like a snake. Boom! A heavy impact echoed out as the chest of the dummy had a gaping hole in it. The dummy itself pushed back and smashed onto the wall as wired and electrical impulses spazzed out. The examiner raised his brows at this as Achilles looked at the dummy with a surreal sensation. It was real. It was truly real. Fairly powerful to be able to explode with power like that. A low-tier body modification, advanced human evaluation is yours. The disappointment in the eyes of the examiner faded away entirely as he made some selections. Achilles feeling his phone buzzing as when he opened the Linares Advanced Human application, he found his profile had changed from white to green, and under his name, in bold green letters, Low-Tier Body Modification Advanced Human. A ranking was assigned to him. He controlled his emotions as he turned to the examiner. Where can I go to exchange evolutions crystals? Oh, the surprise on the examiner was evident, but he tapped his tablet a few times as he spoke. The Evaluation Center has a trading hall branch where evolutions crystals, evolutions armaments, and other resources can be exchanged. I have enough authority to even do an exchange with you right now. Are you exchanging for a specific resource or cash? The attitude of the examiner entirely changed towards him after the power he displayed, and he was even doing something he didn't need to do right now as Achilles followed along. Cash. The examiner nodded at this. That makes things even easier. How many evolutions crystals are you exchanging? It was easiest to exchange evolutions crystals for cash. Achilles reached out to his pockets and pulled out 3 evolutions crystals that the examiner took into his hands. He didn't ask how Achilles obtained these as he spoke. The low-tier evolutions crystals, a total of $300,000. After the national sales tax of 25%, your proceeds come out to be $225,000. Shall I send that to the bank account ending in 8566? Achilles felt his head buzzing as he heard these ridiculous numbers, and he gave a light nod as a few seconds later, his phone buzzed with a notification. He got a text message that $225,000 was just deposited into his account. $225,000. A few hours ago, he only held $19. It all felt surreal as he kept checking the balance to make sure it didn't fade away. It was great doing business with you, Achilles. I am Johnny Riker. Here is my business card if you wish to conduct any future transactions. I am affiliated with the Golden Trading Company as we deal with all sorts of things relating to advanced humans. Housing, vehicles, armaments, trading, entertainment, and even if you're looking for a connection to form a party with other advanced humans, we facilitate this. If you do not directly reach me, or I am busy, I will have my associates take care of you. We sometimes have our people stretched out near catacomb entrances and famous spots for advanced humans, as all that is required for a seamless experience is communication. A business card shining white and gold. Achilles received it while nodding and putting it away, the examiner leading him out of the evaluation center thereafter. He found himself outside the streets once more as he pulled up his banking app. Truly, a ridiculous amount of money remained there as it was not an illusion. The moment he confirmed this, his eyes shone resolutely as he was about to start running towards the hospital a few miles away from here. But he stopped when he saw the dozens of aerial evolutions vehicles floating near the entrance of the evaluation center. He walked forward and raised his hand as one at the very forefront floated down. Achilles, entering after the back door, automatically rose as he spoke out hurriedly. Brightborn Hospital. He gave his destination as the normal human piloting this aerial evolutions vehicle smiled and placed the destination, a screen in the back seat lighting up as the driver spoke out. That will be $200, sir. $200 for a taxi ride. It seemed small at this moment, even though it was 10 times what he had just hours ago. He shook his head at the new reality as he used his phone for tap to pay, and after the screen lit up green, the aerial evolutions vehicle took off into the skies. The advancements made by the Linares colony overseers alone over the years were unbelievable, and the colony of the city of Neon only enjoyed a part of it. There were multiple colony cities under Linares alone, as the number of evolutionist crystals they obtained over the years was astronomical. The number of advanced humans was also high, as the truly powerful ones were those employed by the Linares government. In the colony city of Neon, there were also the evolutionist companies that held terrifying advanced humans in the lead, their fingers stretched into multiple colony cities, as some were geared towards manufacturing weapons, clearing catacombs with strike teams, or even alchemy. There were countless complex things that Achilles barely knew a tiny bit about, but at this moment his focus was not on any of these. The aerial, evolutionist vehicle flew across the skies, and only when he was about to land did he realize that was his first time flying in such a vehicle. He looked out the window to see the countless blinking lights and high-rise buildings of the colony city of Neon until the sign for the Brightborn Hospital appeared. In total, about 3 minutes had passed for this ride, as he appeared where he needed to be. Thank you for utilizing the Sky Enix service today. Please don't forget to leave a rating and a tip. The driver shouted out as he came out of the vehicle, going into the hospital without looking back as he waved his thanks. The driver's smile faded away after just receiving a thanks as he harumphed. "Oomph, a poor advanced human. Just my luck." With these grumbling words, the driver pulled away towards richer areas and continued on. Achilles went into the hospital with renewed purpose, going past those in the waiting room, where he would have had to wait an hour just to get checked in and allowed inside. Instead, he went towards the right side of the hospital, which looked much cleaner and richer, with gorgeous male and female nurses standing around waiting, as there was no line there. The moment he began walking towards this direction, the eyes of many of these nurses lit up as nearest to him. A voluptuous nurse with red hair appeared. "How may I help, sir?" The treatment was starkly different. Achilles looked at this woman without any change in emotions as he replied, "I need to transfer a patient to a different room, and I need treatment for her to be started as soon as possible." The nurse hid her frown at the cold reply as she tightened her chest even more to display her blessed chest while replying with a smile. "Of course, sir. I would just need to scan your advanced human identification number to get you in our system." Achilles took out his phone and showed his profile, a barcode popping up and being scanned as the eyes of the nurse lit up. A genuine advanced human. Yet he didn't seem at all interested in her efforts, as she sighed internally while reviewing his documents, surprise rising as she saw his hospital history. "I see the patient connected to you here is Rose Adrian, afflicted with a low-tier poison, wolf's gray bite. Treatment couldn't be started before, as she was only kept stable in the human ward. We can move her to one of our VIP rooms and begin a detoxification regimen right away, sir. But to fully cure her of the wolf's gray bite, an advanced human with a healing factor or a low-tier synthesized all-poison potion is required." She was surprised as, based on their records, this Achilles was a normal human this whole time. Did he just awaken recently? And the first thing he did was rush to save this woman? She kept her surprises to herself as she listed everything that had to be done. Achilles listened to all of it smoothly before he replied. "Start the transfer and detoxification process. How much will that be? And the all-poison potion?" His voice carried a sense of urgency. For her, he didn't care how much was needed. He had almost thrown his life away for just a chance. And now that he received much more than that, he would not delay to allow for any accidents. The nurse saw his determined expression as she pouted to herself while doing the calculations. She wished there was an advanced human to care for her like this one, whose eyes didn't even seem to care about her figure right before him. Her dream was to marry a rich advanced human and stop working after that, but so far, it remained a dream. Achilles could see her emotions on her face as he remained unbothered. Of course, he wouldn't even spare a glance at this woman before him. Did her fake smile ever come close to Rose? The answer was a resounding no. Her figure? Not even a chance. To him, she was only making a fool of herself, as he wouldn't look twice in her direction. She quickly made the calculations and presented them to him on the tablet. To start things off, $100,000 is required for the VIP treatment and detoxification. The low-tier, synthesized, all-poison potion will cost $500,000. Shall I place an order for it right away on the card under your account? I will need the payment before doing so. $500,000. This was the cost to cure Rose as just a few hours ago. It wasn't even a possibility with the $19 in his account. But now, it seemed very much achievable in a short period of time. Start everything but the potion. I will be back in a few hours for that. He gave the go-ahead as the nurse smiled and tapped on a few keys, his phone buzzing as right away he received a notification that he had been charged nearly half the balance remaining on his card. He didn't feel too much emotion at such an amount of money disappearing as he looked at the nurse, who smiled brightly after having the payment go through. She tightened her chest as she pointed behind her. If you would follow me, please. The areas for the advanced humans, or those they cared for, were two different. One side of the wall had a moving walkway that seemed to be taking them to an entirely different wing of the hospital. And in a few minutes, they crossed a few halls until Achilles saw doors shining with green lights. Hospital rooms that were wider than even the bedroom of his current apartment. In the distance, he saw a bed being moved into a room as there. He saw Rose surrounded by more nurses than there ever were around her these past days. And behind the nurses, a certain doctor with a chart scratched his head in confusion as he spoke. Are you all sure this is right and didn't apply a payment to the wrong patient? I remember this girl. The one taking care of her is a kid with less than $20 in his account just a few hours ago. Make sure you all do your due diligence and not piss off an advanced human by selecting the wrong patient. He spoke sternly to the nurses as if he wanted to make sure no mistakes were made. After all, what was easier to believe? The kid who had less than $20 a few hours ago suddenly obtained enough money to request a VIP room and a set of treatments, or a simple mistake of names was made. Achilles was arriving with the nurse when he heard these words from the doctor. The nurse's face turning ashen as in the next moment, the floor around them began to shake. The nurses and doctor were shocked as they looked around, and they turned to see the visage of Achilles. Currently, his body was covered by a purple glow as he seemed to alone cause the floor around them to shake. The doctor saw him as at first he was shocked, then stupefied, and then terrified. He remembered what he had just said. He gulped and tried to choke his words out, but he felt such a stifling pressure that he couldn't even speak. What the hell was this? He was just warning the nurses to be careful not to offend any advanced human. And his legs nearly gave out as he saw the purple glow in the eyes of Achilles, who seemed to be controlling himself a great deal as he spoke. Give me a different fucking doctor. His words seemed to hold just an edge of control, as if they weren't followed. Someone may just be split in two. The nurse who was leading him here rapidly pointed to two male nurses who grabbed the frozen doctor and took him away. I greatly apologize for that, sir. I promise to make the necessary arrangements right away. The nurse had an apologetic and angered expression on her face as she gave a light bow of apology. Achilles took a moment as he nodded. The purple glow around him calmed as he turned away from the petrified doctor being pulled away in the distance and entered the new room. Wider, more light. It actually seemed humane compared to the small room she was in before. On the wall, an actual window showing the city lights outside could be seen, along with posters of famous advanced humans in different poses. Rose was situated in the very center of the room as around the larger bed. Tubes containing vibrant purple and green healing medicine could be seen connected to 4 tubes going into her grayish skin. Achilles pulled a chair nearby and sat down as he looked at Rose. Her sunken expression, her vibrant skin that was now gray, her hair that had been falling off constantly to the point that she was nearly bald. Achilles held her cold hands as he felt pangs of pain and called out slowly, "Wait for me, just a little bit longer." How was she feeling right now? As the pain of the poison wrecked across her body, could she still feel it even in her induced coma? Did she know what was happening around her? Did she know that he did not abandon her? Even in her induced coma, he wanted to talk to her and tell her that she was not going through this alone, that he was here. Tears unconsciously fell from him as he remembered her bright smile on that day, when she told him how he overslept and that she would head out first, that he would not make her late for work again. He has not been able to talk to her since then. If he went with her, if he hadn't, he shook his head as he tried not to dwell too much on what-ifs. He held her hand tenderly as on the other side of the room, The lead nurse looked at this and finally gave up with a sigh. If this man could look at this girl like this when she was in this state, then she truly stood no chance. We will take care of her, sir. Life-rejuvenating serums will slowly start to be given to her to prepare her body. As soon as you are ready for the all-poison potion, we will proceed with that too. Dr. Hendricks will take over her care as well. He was given assurances as he nodded and rose up. He looked at Rose one last time before he walked out, his destination already clear in his eyes. Inside, an aerial, evolutionist vehicle. Having selected the option of silence in this car, Achilles closed his eyes without worrying about being pestered with awkward conversations as he stared out into the sparkling lights around him. In the skies of the colony city of Neon, dazzling warships that evoke power and fear floated in restricted airspaces, and huge blimps could also be seen moving from one place to another. Everything felt advanced and magical at the same time as in the skies. Achilles could see the occasional flashes of advanced humans flying, without using a vessel, through their own sheer power. It made him feel like there was a wider world out there that he knew nothing about. Even higher above, a massive dome-like shield could also be seen as something this big was barely even understood by normal humans. Only advanced humans, with more information, understood just exactly what it stood for and the level of protection it provided from the outside dangers of the skies of Euthymia. For Achilles, this was already far from his current worries. In the vastness of just the colony city of Neon alone, he was nothing. At this moment, he was just trying to stay above water as he looked at the screen in front of his seat that showed they would be arriving in 1 minute to catacomb entrance number 53. He did not go back to the same catacomb that he had just stolen from advanced humans. Stolen. The word made him feel stifled as he thought of everything that had occurred. And could the scorched evolutionist beast that nearly killed him be considered stolen if he killed it? He thought to himself silently as the aerial evolutionist vehicle landed in another busy center of the city. He nodded to the driver and walked out of the car that opened its door up automatically as he stared at the crowds of people moving about. The crowds thinning as one got closer and closer to the entrances of the evolutionist catacombs and the guards holding luminous weapons. As he left, he heard the distinct comment of the driver whose smile left his mouth as he was leaving. Another one that doesn't tip. Tipping. A practice that a poor person like him couldn't even afford the luxury of, as he ignored the comment and went towards one of the gates of catacomb entrance number 53. The process this time wasn't one that caused him stress, with him flashing his phone that showed his green-bordered ranking as the guards there simply let him through without a comment. There was a group of advanced humans entering the blue portal ahead of him, as when he neared and went through, he once more found himself in a wide cave-like structure that had purple stones lighting everything up. In the distance, the wider path split into 7 as he glimpsed the group of 3 advanced humans that entered into the middle path. He kept his eyes on the path to the right as he went into it with caution. Most advanced humans opted to join a team as this meant increased protection. But he was alone as what he had did not feel like something he could share with others. He even had to do some tests on this trip as to what ability factor he exactly awakened and what it meant to assimilate. His biggest obstacle would be the number of evolutionist beasts he would come across since he was alone. The dummy test in the evaluation center gave him a tinge of confidence to get past the defenses of a low-tier evolutionist beast, and all he needed after that was to obtain more evolutionist crystals. He could then test whatever power he awakened as he only focused on these few steps. He knew many things could go wrong. He knew that, like always, the most unfavorable outcome might occur for him. But he still went in cautiously as a few minutes passed. The tunnel within the catacombs he followed becoming dimmer and dimmer. This darkness actually comforted him in a way as his pupils were covered by a purple light, with his vision actually not impeded for the most part. As he went further in, he gradually saw his surroundings change as soon as he began to see cobwebs, white strings strewn about all around that caused him to be even more cautious as up ahead, his shining purple eyes saw the outline of none other than spiders. 2, to be exact, in the nearby vicinity. Both were moving around with no clear direction, their legs shining with crystalline obsidian light, as they each had 7 black eyes on their head that would cause a great sense of unease just to look at them. He stayed close to the dark walls while observing them, as he contained any sense of nervousness while confirming what he knew. He assimilated evolutionist crystals, organic crystals. He had regeneration, energy conversion, flexibility, and light manipulation. If he was injured, his wounds would heal. Energy conversion. Well, this he didn't understand too much. Flexibility and light manipulation he could instinctively sense. He had all of these, as he told himself, even if he was injured, it would just be temporary pain. After this pain, he may just be able to see her smile again. Her smile. The moment he remembered it the many times she was with him, his eyes burned with decisiveness as he shot forward like an arrow, focusing on that burning, energizing feeling coursing across his body. Boom! By the time the first spider even began to turn, his body radiating a devilish purple light was already on top of it, as both of his hands swung down like hammers at the center of the head of the black spider. A smash of his hands. This was all he knew at this moment, as since a single hand worked to fracture the skull of a scorched lion, why not two for another low-tier, evolutionist beast? Squelch. He felt his hands sinking into soft and uncomfortable liquids before they felt a little resistance that he shredded through, dark green blood and gray matter flying out as the legs of the spider crumpled down weakly. At this moment, Achilles pushed aside his revulsion and dug deep into the body of this spider, his gaze looking at the one behind it that was about to screech as he flung the first spider towards it. The two were smashed with each other as the second black spider cried out lightly, its legs seeking to regain control, as in the next moment, Achilles continued using the body of the other spider as its 2 spiked obsidian crystalline legs were raised up and grabbed by him. Their sharp-pointed spear end pointed towards the head of the second black spider as they sank in with an eruption of blood. The smell was pungent. It nearly made him gag as the white clothes he had received from the evaluation center were covered in dark green goo. But below him, the limbs of one spider pierced another as at this moment. None of them moved. Their muscles spasmed and twitched, but they moved no longer. He breathed out heavily as his head whipped around, looking to see if there were any more coming up ahead as he listened for any sounds, too. But nothing. Ooh. His beating heart told him that he was very much alive, and that for the first time, he had gone and killed 2 low-tier, evolutionist beasts all on his own. He looked at his body covered in the appalling, dark green, thick blood as his nose twitched uncomfortably, and he then looked down at the bodies of the black spiders. He wasn't done just yet as his hands reached down to tear apart their heads and look for the glimmering, evolutionist crystals. And a minute went by as he felt like he violated the corpses of spiders. But at the end of it all, 6 dazzling, evolutionist crystals were placed on the floor of the catacombs. His body, which was drenched in blood, looked at them cautiously before he picked one up and held it in his hands. Initially, they were absorbed into his body after his blood fell on them, and he wanted to test things out at this moment as he called out hesitatingly, "Assimilate." A silent flash of light bloomed as he saw the pure purple crystal actually melt in his hands and enter his skin, the burning sensation of power inside of him becoming more active as he felt even more rejuvenated. It was that easy. He could assimilate the evolutionist crystals this easily, as he had seen videos of advanced humans when they used the power of evolutionist crystals to continue modifying their bodies. They held them in their hands as the light from the crystals seeped into their bodies, and the crystal turned into dust when all light within it was absorbed after a few minutes. Minutes. It did not take less than a second from what he had just seen. More than that was the direct feeling of that burning sensation of him getting stronger. He couldn't help but look at the blue panel once again. Achilles Maxwell. Assimilation, organic crystal, evolutionist crystals, for percent. Obtain qualities of regeneration, energy conversion, flexibility, light manipulation. Existence corruption value, 0%. Complexity, negligible. The only thing that had changed was the percentage under organic crystals, changing from 3% to 4%. He looked at this silently as he reached out and grabbed another 2 crystals, silently saying the word assimilate in his mind, as both of these crystals also melted and disappeared into his body. A surge of that burning sensation flashed once more as he felt like he became even stronger, and the percentage moved to 6%. He silently felt the changes inside of his body as his eyes then turned towards the bodies of the black spiders. He could assimilate the organic crystals, the evolutionous crystals that he was holding on to before. Was this the only thing he could assimilate? He wanted to put something else to the test as he reached out and touched the obsidian crystalline-like limb of one of the black spiders as he called out. Assimilate. BZZT. Red flashes of light burst between his hand and the limb of the spider he held, almost as if giving him a warning. The hard exterior of the limb of the spider had the portion he held still shatter and melt as it was inches away from his hand, but the red light of warning was still there, almost as if it was telling him not to do it. He thought silently for a second before he firmly decided and called out again. Assimilate. Woo. The leg of the spider entirely dissolved into liquid goo, followed by the rest of its body as a mass of shining liquid goo then surged into his body. He felt a prickling sensation of pins and needles all over his body, the burning sensation of power inside of him exploding upwards to an alarming degree. He felt his heart beating heavily. His body feels lighter and heavier all at once. The entire body of the black spider disappeared into his body and gave him a surge of the feeling of power as his eyes could not help but hone in on the blue panel yet again. The blue panel? At this moment, the blue panel had streaks of red light on the bottom as he looked at it closely. Achilles Maxwell. Assimilation, organic crystal, evolutionous crystals, 6%. Obtained qualities of regeneration, energy conversion, flexibility, light manipulation. Subassimilation, organic arachnid life form, 10%. Gained qualities of poison generation, appendage generation, exoskeletal armor, physical adherence. Existence corruption value, 1%. Complexity, negligible. A noticeable change had occurred. Apart from the addition of another assimilated target, the biggest thing was the existence of corruption value. It had risen by a whole percentage. He was silent as he looked at it, thinking back to the crimson light of warning that flashed when he initially tried to assimilate the body of the black spider. Such a light only flashed when he tried to assimilate something different apart from an evolutionous crystal. A level of corruption unfolded. He looked all over his body, and everything about him still seemed the same. But the panel listed corruption. Assimilating the same type of thing would not cause a change in the existence corruption value, but assimilating something entirely different at the same time would increase the level of corruption. This was not all. He also confirmed that the rate of how quickly the percentage increased depended on how much volume of it was there. A single black spider gave a 10% gain on the assimilation of an organic arachnid life form, while a single evolutionous crystal granted 1%. He was learning many things, but he placed the percentage of existence corruption value as one of the most important things. He instinctively felt like he could not let it get too high, and he had to ascertain how to reduce it. But for now, he needed the burst in power, because from assimilating just that single black spider, the burning feeling he could feel across his body seemed twice as intense at the very least. And there was now the addition of poison generation, appendage generation, exoskeletal armor, and physical adherence. He wanted to see just what these could do as he raised his hand and thought to himself, appendage generation. Appendage generation. He called out such a thing once, as in the next moment, he felt an itching sensation as from the sides of his chest, 2 obsidian-spiked limbs erupted out. He was astonished by such a change, as the additional limbs seemed far too foreign. They weren't permanent, were they? He frowned with worry as he gave another command in his mind. And moments later, the newly sprouted spikes' limbs fell out where they sprouted, shriveling even before they hit the ground as by the moment they did, they were already ash. He breathed a sigh of relief as he proceeded to try out more things. Poison generation. He observed as his hands gained a layer of dark green liquid. It smelled pungent as when it fell on the ground. The stones sizzled. He simply thought about it once more before the dark green poison disappeared. He continued to go through everything else as next up, he called out what should be a protective ability. Exoskeletal armor. BZZT. His hands felt like they became wrapped in a layer of indestructible light as when he raised them. He saw an obsidian carapace shining with a glint of purple light form. He looked all over his hands as currently, they looked like an armored part of him that could be hurt by very few things. The sense of protection he felt from this alone was something that made it worth it as he looked at the last thing. Physical adherence. This was a unique one as instinctively. He looked at the ceiling within this extended cave as he slowly began to walk towards the wall. And he kept on walking. Physical adherence. He called out silently in his mind as he felt like something far too pristine and unknown covered his legs. And he continued walking towards the wall as he put his foot on its vertical surface. And he continued walking. He didn't fall off. He was lying horizontal to the floor below, and yet he didn't fall as his feet stuck to the vertical cave wall. And he took a few more steps as, unbelievably, he came to stand upside down on the ceiling of the catacombs. Dumb. His hand, covered by an exoskeleton, touched his chest as he felt his beating heart and this surreal reality. He was able to assimilate evolucious crystals. He was able to assimilate the bodies of evolucious beasts. Just what else could he assimilate? And what exactly would happen when 100% assimilation was reached? He didn't have any answers. What he did have was his current situation where he needed the funds, and this shocking ability factor he awakened could give him this, and more as long as he played it right. He consciously released physical adherence as his body dropped down, his gaze landing on the other remaining black spider. Assimilating two things at once increased the existence corruption value, but it was currently still low, and evolucious crystals were very much needed. Not to mention the much larger volume that the bodies of evolucious beasts provided, and how rapidly the percentage of assimilation could go up due to them. He hoped he wasn't making the wrong choice at this moment as he reached out towards the other corpse of the black spider and assimilate. A crimson light flashed. The whole body of the spider turned into goo that was absorbed into his body. The burning sensation of power inside of him became even more intense as he looked at the panel once again. Achilles Maxwell. Assimilation, organic crystal, evolucious crystals, 6%. Obtain qualities of regeneration, energy conversion, flexibility, light manipulation. Subassimilation, organic arachnida life form, 20%. Gained qualities of poison generation, appendage generation, exoskeletal armor, physical adherence. Existence corruption value, 2%. Complexity, negligible. Corruption rose by another percentage. But the percentage of the assimilated arachnida life form was now 20%. He clenched his fists as he looked ahead in the dark, winding paths of the catacombs. The exoskeleton on his hands now extended to his shoulders. His sense of confidence continued to grow as, at this moment, he continued delving even deeper. He was looking for evolucious crystals, and he was looking for the bodies of evolucious beasts, especially arachnids. And so he went deeper until the tunnel of these catacombs began to widen. More cobwebs appeared all around. And as he went closer, he heard the shifting sounds of limbs and screeches of beasts every now and then. He crept closer as uniquely the catacombs widened and opened up into a wide area up ahead filled with spiderwebs. And he noted at least 10 spiders moving around as there were 3 black eggs pulsing at the very center. A nest. The path opened up into a nest as Achilles stayed back while calculating his options. He could see 10 black spiders in total, one of them at the very center being slightly larger and more robust. Even a team of 3 low-tier body modification advanced humans would be cautious at this collection of low-tier evolucious beasts. And he was alone. But he could do things other advanced humans couldn't as he made up his mind and activated physical adherence again. This time, he used both his legs and hands as he climbed the walls of the catacombs and chose to enter in a way that not even the black spiders could predict. Silently, in the darkness of the catacombs, his feet and hands stuck to its walls as he climbed up into the widened room. He moved without making a sound until he arrived at the very center, his figure dangling from the ceiling of the catacombs as he was right above the largest black spider. Kill the strongest one first. This was his plan as he no longer hesitated, his target locked on, as he didn't allow fear to set in. He released physical adherence. His figure began to tumble down as his tremendous weight pulled him ever faster, and while in the air, appendage generation, poison generation. Two sharp appendages grew from his side, their sharp points coated in poison as his hands held a similar deadly sheen, and he smashed onto a 4-meter body of a black spider. The impact was deafening. Ski! It was also followed by a shocked roar of the massive black spider as Achilles' 2 hands and newly generated appendages pierced into the black spider, focusing on its head more than anything else. The spiked, generated limbs pierced in and out mechanically, multiple holes being made on the body of the black spider as its skin and muscle sizzled and melted from the poison. After another second of shocked cries and squeals, thump! Achilles breathed heavily as the massive body of the black spider slumped down. Its top was sizzling and still melting as it twitched, its eyes and head pierced into as it no longer moved. In the surroundings, 9 smaller black spiders looked at this scene and screeched out with madness. Achilles moving fast as he dug into the head of the dead beast below him and took out 3 evolutions crystals. 3, and they seemed bigger in size and much brighter as he quickly put them in his pockets while roaring out towards the body of the black spider below him. Assimilate. A red light of warning flashed before the massive corpse was turned into liquid goo that surged into him. Dumb. The beat of his heart felt even more intense as the burning feeling of power grew, his figure touching the floor of the catacombs as he looked towards the 9 black spiders rushing towards him and shot out towards the nearest 2. At the same time, the updated panel flashed in his eyes. Achilles Maxwell. Assimilation, organic crystal, evolutions crystals, 6%. Obtain qualities of regeneration, energy conversion, flexibility, light manipulation. Subassimilation, organic arachnida life form, 40%. Gained qualities of poison generation, appendage generation, exoskeletal armor, physical adherence. Existence corruption value, 4%. Complexity, negligible. The single massive spider counted for 2 as his assimilation rate reached 40%, and he entirely let go of any other thoughts while he rushed towards the other spiders here. Boom! His figure smashed onto a spider like a moving train, knocking its body back with so much force that it screeched while slamming into the wall of the catacombs. The spear-like limbs of another spider nearby rushed towards him, but he grabbed them with his own hands and snapped them in half while his 2 extra appendages shot out and stabbed into the head of the black spider. Dark green goo sizzled as its body slumped down right after, and Achilles rushed to the other spider he knocked into the wall as he pierced the center of its eyes and caused it to turn lifeless as well. Ski! Screeches came from behind as a spiked limb tore down and pierced in his shoulder, but it was only able to sink an inch before it stopped as he turned around and roared out, the pain causing everything to seem brighter as he pulled on the leg piercing him with one hand and used his other 3 hands to pierce the spider's head. A third one slumped down as he breathed heavily. 6 remained, and they mindlessly rushed towards him as he also flung himself towards them. A green light of poison and a purple glow of regeneration covered his body as a whole minute passed. A minute of brutality and devastation as all screeches died down. Dark green blood painted the floor of the catacombs. 9 corpses of black spiders twitched as they were torn apart and devastated. Their heads and eyes melted from poisonous blows as Achilles stood at the very center looking at everything while breathing heavily. 2 appendages fell and turned into dust on his sides, along with the exoskeleton armor over his hands. On various parts of his body, what used to be his white shirt and pants had holes in many areas, and yet his white skin was spotless without any injuries, as they had long since healed. He raided a nest and was able to survive, as after a few seconds of recompense, he began to move. As always, he would not push his luck. He gathered what he needed first before anything else, looting the bodies of the black spiders and pulling out a total of 27 evolution crystals that could definitely not fit in his pockets. He took off his shirt a moment later and gathered the evolution crystals into it like a sack, and he then prepared himself as he went towards the twitching bodies of the black spiders while calling out, "Assimilate! Assimilate! 1, 2, 3. Multiple corpses turned into black goo that was absorbed into his body, a red light flashing each time as after the 6th one. He stopped. He saw the percentage under organic arachnida life form reach 100%. In BZZT, his body trembled as if he was getting electrocuted, and he felt a surge of pain coursing throughout his body before a surge of heat bloomed. Heat, a fiery sense of heat that almost caused him to roar out. But he contained himself and weathered through it as his body felt an indescribable sensation, as if every part of him was buzzing with excitement and power. He felt a searing pain on the back of his shoulder as when he turned to see, he observed a small black tattoo. A tattoo of the head of a spider with 9 eyes. It felt like it was branded into him as the sensation of pain left, only leaving behind the exhilarating heat of power, as if his body could face dozens of other spiders without an issue. His shirt was being used as a sack, as currently his upper body was laid bare. Even though he used to work in construction, his eating habits guaranteed that he never had something like a six-pack, but now he looked down to see the outline of clear abdominal muscles, with his also showing definition as he looked toned. He clenched his hands and felt the surreal power coursing through him, his eyes going towards the panel to see just how drastically things had changed compared to before. Achilles Maxwell, Assimilation, Organic Arachnida Life Form Echelon 1, gained qualities of Poison Generation, Appendage Generation, Exoskeletal Armor, Physical Adherence, and Thermoreception. Organic Crystal, Evolution Crystals, 6%, obtained qualities of Regeneration, Energy Conversion, Flexibility, and Light Manipulation. Existence Corruption Value, 10%. Complexity, negligible. The percentage in front of Organic Arachnida Life Form disappeared, as it was stated this assimilation reached its first echelon, and a new quality of thermoreception was added. It meant that there were higher echelons, and that he could continue to assimilate more bodies of creatures in the same group. Arachnida, spiders, and scorpions, among others. It was highly likely that assimilating for higher echelons would require much greater volumes of bodies of the arachnids, and it would take much longer. He stared at the 3 remaining bodies of black spiders as he didn't touch them, his gaze falling on the existence corruption value at this moment. It was something that showed favoritism to assimilating a single thing at a time. After Organic Arachnida Life Form hit the first echelon, he could be considered to have reverted to assimilating just the organic crystals. He looked at the haphazard sack of his shirt as he took out a few crystals and began to assimilate them. After the first one, he stared at his panel as nothing changed. A second evolution crystal was assimilated. Nothing changed, but when he assimilated a third one, a flash of blue illuminated the panel as the encroachment of red reduced, and the existence corruption value fell from 10% to 9%. He nodded at such a change, as gradually he was understanding the usage of his power more and more. One way to lower the existence corruption value seemed to be the assimilation of the first object he had been assimilating, or simply the only object he was now assimilating. This was his power. A lot about it was unknown. He didn't even know just how much stronger he became as an advanced human as he assimilated the evolution crystals and the bodies of arachnida. But for now, this didn't matter. For him, This power remained to be a means to an end. He would use it as needed to get what he wanted, as at this moment, he had more than enough to get what he wanted. So he looked around at the scene of blood and gore, his eyes even going towards the 3 eggs that remained untouched as he felt something within and between them. Oh, he walked towards them as it was all due to thermoreception. With his eyes seeing heat signatures in between the eggs as there, he found an evolutionous crystal growing out of the catacomb floor. And inside of the eggs, he also saw a similar heat signature as his hand shot out and pierced the shells to pull out an evolutionous crystal from each egg. He shook the goo off his hands as he still noticed a pungent smell all around him, but he collected everything as in his sack. There were a total of 34 evolutionous crystals. He would have had 40 in total from this trip, but he had assimilated 6. The rest when converted to money. His eyes flashed with a fiery light as he stared out into the depths of the catacombs that kept winding down. No doubt, more and more evolutionous beasts lay within, even more powerful ones at that. But at this moment, Achilles was content. He turned around and began to head back to where he came from, reaching into his pants to pull out his phone and a business card as he prepared to get many things underway. Outside of catacomb entrance number 53, the eyes of many normal humans conducting business in the periphery past the gated entrance whistled as a young man stepped out with his chest laid bare. His body seemed to be brimming with energy as the city of neon that was alive at night was gradually welcoming day. Rays of the sun streaking down and landing on his body as his skin glinted. In his hands, a bundle of evolutionous crystals could be seen barely contained in a shirt filled with dark green grime as hushed whispers echoed out in the distance, with even some advanced human parties raising their brows in the surroundings. A lone advanced human, a death seeker, a death seeker. Advanced humans who didn't rely on parties or strike teams to enter the evolutionous catacombs. People who, more routinely than not, would disappear as death was extremely common for those who didn't have any support. Of course, there were exceptions. Truly powerful advanced humans who exceeded the body modification stage and trusted their power greatly. But such people would not be in these entrances that led into the periphery of the catacombs with low-tier evolutionous beasts. They would be on the single-digit catacomb entrances within the depths of the city of Neon that lead directly into the deeper parts of the catacombs, where much more powerful evolutionous beasts were present. So for now, Achilles was given the title of a Death Seeker as he didn't bother with it too much. Just a few hours ago, he nearly met death anyway. He seems like a newbie. He didn't even bring a storage device. But that many evolutionous crystals that don't have to be divided to others. Eyes of envy and malice rose up here and there, but nobody would attack others out in the open. There were cameras everywhere, with the Linares colony overseers ensuring the rule of law for the most part where things were visible. In the dark? That was another question entirely. But Achilles was not simply streaking by standing out here, as after another few seconds, Mr. Maxwell? Hello, I was sent over by Director Riker. Please follow me. An advanced human woman in a suit appeared in front of him while smiling politely, her eyes looking him over, up, and down as they spared no glance at his body, but they were focused on the bundle of evolutionous crystals in his hands. Money signs could practically be seen flashing in her eyes as she continued. I am Amanda Dawson, and I'll help you with your exchange today. Everything else that you requested has already been arranged too. Achilles had already contacted Johnny Riker, the advanced human examiner who was part of the Golden Trading Company, to get the process of selling evolutionous crystals going. He was led towards a wide aerial evolutionous vehicle as he finally got away from prying eyes. Amanda Dawson. Achilles looked at this woman in a black suit as she hummed, while counting the evolutionous crystals in the center of the car, and he adorned a newly given white shirt over his glistening toned figure. The aerial evolutionous vehicle they were in was akin to a long limousine, with a table rising at the very center and seats around it. The driver couldn't even hear their conversations as he was enclosed up front. Wowie, 34 evolutionous crystals in total, 3 that are actually of middle tier. Her eyes glinted with a light of visible fondness as she stroked the purple crystals on the table, and Achilles couldn't help but ask, "I'm gracious for the help, but also curious as to what you all get out of this." The advanced human examiner had given him his card if ever he needed anything, with him being part of another organization that dealt with a lot of things in the colony city of Neon. For him to send someone to Achilles when he asked, there was always something they receive in return, as he knew there was no free lunch in this world. The dark hair on Amanda danced on her shoulders as she smiled while gathering the Evolucious crystals and tapping on her tablet. Evolucious crystals continue to remain a rare and greatly in demand commodity even after all these years. Even its price has only been on a gradual increase. Any transaction made, we get to retain such a rare commodity as we also get a portion of the proceeds. Not from you, but from the government side. She explained with a light hum in her voice. As for why I do it, I don't really enjoy the thrill of almost dying every time I enter catacombs. So I maintain the status of an advanced human while doing business. So long as I make money, I can always get stronger by absorbing Evolucious crystals myself. She gave an honest reply as Achilles nodded. The aerial Evolucious vehicle they were on calmly flew across the skies as a low purple brilliance covered its bottom. This being just one of the many cars in the skies of the colony city of Neon where business was being conducted. So, 31 low-tier Evolucious crystals for $3,100,000 and 3 middle-tier Evolucious crystals for $1,500,000. A total of $4,600,000, and after accounting for sales tax, I can deposit $3,450,000 into your account right away. Everything seems good to go. She asked for confirmation. Achilles looked at the resources he risked his life to obtain and nodded as he waited for an unreal amount of money he had not even imagined a day ago to arrive. But surely, ching, a notification came moments later that he had just received an instant deposit of over $3 million in his bank account. He tried not to stare at the number too much lest it disappear, and he suddenly woke up to realize it was all a dream. Opposite him, Amanda Dawson hummed happily as she gave a slight nod to him. That concludes that portion of the business. Thank you for using the services of our Golden Trading Company. I've also gone ahead and grabbed a few large and extra large-sized reinforcement suits here for you, complimentary to ensure your smooth experience in the future with our Golden Trading Company. Amanda pointed towards 5 stacks of casings in plastic that could not be more than 5 inches each. 5 inches, and each one contained a full suit inside of it that could be accessed by tugging on a small string. The reinforced suits are made from the skin of certain Evolucious beasts, as they have a shred of protection from the wear and tear of advanced humans. And they even have a self-cleaning function that allows most bloody smells to not be retained. Apart from this, is there anything else we can help you with today? She asked as the aerial Evolucious vehicle they were on began to make its descent, the Brightborn Hospital becoming visible under them as Achilles accepted the packets of suits inside a bag and thought for a moment before he asked. I may be interested in advanced human housing soon. Nothing fancy, just an apartment. He thought of himself and rose. Well, they lived it now. Since he was able to do it, he would do what he could to give her a better life than they had before. Of course, please keep my card with you as I may text you on this number to present you with some options soon. And if ever you need anything else, just a quick text is more than enough. I'm not a talker over the phone. The whole thing just makes me anxious. Amanda had a carefree expression as she replied, and Achilles nodded as the door beside him opened up. He left without looking back as behind him. Amanda kept her smile while speaking to herself as the doors closed. How did the director find this one? Newly awakened and already pulling in over 30 Evolucious crystals in a few hours, we may have another golden goose on our hands. Let's see. She thought about a lot of things as she tapped on her tablet and began looking at different advanced human complexes, focusing on those filled with clients of the Golden Trading Company. Within the Brightborn Hospital, Achilles was locked onto the moment he appeared as if the nurses were already told to keep an eye on him. Someone came to escort him the moment he entered as he was taken up walkways and elevators towards the VIP wings of the hospital. and he saw an older man with slightly bronzed skin and white hair with a cane standing by the door of Rose's room. His eyes looked ahead cautiously as this man, he could feel fiery waves of power from turned to him and smiled. "Mr. Maxwell, I am one of the managing partners here at Brightbourne Hospital, Dr. Nigel Hendricks, and I just came to express my apologies regarding your prior interaction with a doctor of ours. A few broken limbs and flayed skin later. He has been thoroughly disciplined and healed, as by the time he rejoins the workforce, he will be a new man. I wanted to personally oversee your case as an apology, so I've taken the liberties to get the required resources ready and brought over for the treatment of Miss Rose Adrian, pending your approval, of course." Managing partner of the Brightbourne Hospital, Dr. Nigel Hendricks. He dropped a bombshell the moment that he arrived about the torture of a doctor who had made a wrong comment to an advanced human, and he then proceeded to let Achilles know how everything was prepared. The tan skin of this old man glinted as he smiled while beckoning Achilles to enter the room with him. Of course, my hands are tied for ethical guidelines of fairness to all patients, as I cannot apply these treatments for free, so we await your approval. The all-poison potion is the standard treatment for the type of poison Miss Rose suffered, but I also have on standby a middle-tier advanced human healer, the prize of our Brightbourne Hospital. Her fee is $1 million, but she will ensure an even better effect than a mere potion alone. The cane of this advanced human tapped on the floor as they entered Rose's room, Achilles noting the multiple changes made as stones radiating a purple light similar to the catacombs were placed in corners of the room to make the whole area even more refreshed. On the bed, Rose had a much healthier color on her skin as the gray slowly faded, and 5 nurses were lined up alongside a female doctor in a white coat who raised her brows and harumphed while looking toward Dr. Nigel. "If only you treated all patients like this, Father." The words of the attending doctor echoed out as the lips of Dr. Nigel Hendricks twitched, and he introduced her while looking at the huge TV screen on the wall of the room that displayed a great deal of information. "This is my daughter, Dr. Hendricks. She has a sharp tongue, but gives her best care to all patients. So please excuse any impoliteness. I see that our healer is going to be free soon for another treatment here. Shall I confirm her treatment with Miss Rose?" Achilles walked towards the healthier-looking Rose and held her cold hand that had gained some warmth since he was here last, and he gave a nod while asking, "Apart from curing the poison, are there any treatments for rejuvenating normal humans? Skin care, hair care?" Her nearly bald head pained him to see, as he knew if she woke up and saw herself like this in the mirror, even though she would still look utterly stunning, she might just beat him up. Beside the bed, Dr. Hendricks came up and looked at Achilles closely as she was the one to reply. "That was part of the treatment plan I had in store. We try to give a true and full treatment here, as after healing her, her skin, hair, teeth, absolutely everything will be returned to the prime. And there is an optional human enhancer serum that most politicians and rich kids enjoy, which safely allows for improvement of bodily functions of normal humans. We can give her after that. Everything would come out to a total of..." She squinted as she looked at the screen beside Rose's bed before she gave the final number. $1,645,000. Everything included. Shall I proceed? Her finger was already on a green button on the screen, simply waiting for his go-ahead. And he nodded as finally everything was out underway. In a few seconds, Achilles felt another buzzing of the phone in his pocket before Dr. Hendricks nodded. "Payment has been received, as treatment will start. Hey, call Healer Suine over, and you all get ready with the required serums and medications." Things began to get busy as the nurses moved about. The cane of Dr. Nigel Hendricks appeared behind Achilles as he smiled while looking at his dirt pants and bag that held compressed suits he recognized. "While they are getting things underway, Mr. Maxwell, we have a separate room connected here with state-of-the-art facilities if you need to change." The nurses and doctors here were getting busy, and he still had the stench of black spiders on him. He moved away from the bed as Dr. Nigel pointed to another door in the corner of the room. "Notify me when the healer arrives." He spoke towards the nurses and doctor as they nodded, Dr. Hendricks even making a daring shooing motion toward him as she focused her full attention on Rose's vitals. She was in good hands as he moved and entered a separate room. A tall shower could be seen in the corner, alongside multiple sinks and white towels stacked on top of each other. A sauna could also be seen on the side along with a small jacuzzi nearby that already had bubbling water. Achilles locked the door behind him as he released his feelings of apprehension and took his clothes off to wash the stench away. After a short shower, droplets of water fell off the body of Achilles as he looked at himself in the mirror. Is this really me? He couldn't help but murmur as he saw the toned body with defined muscles in the mirror. His dark hair dripped with hot steaming water as it hung loosely on his head. He didn't take too much time admiring himself, as he knew an important moment was coming up very soon. So he simply shook his head and reached out into the bag that he obtained from Amanda, pulling out a packet of the compressed casing that he pulled the string off to release a bundle of clothes in the next moment. Everything he needed. His towel fell off as he put the pieces of clothing one after another, a black suit pant and a white dress shirt fitting him nicely as he tucked it in. The black suit jacket seemed over the top as he simply went with what he had and left it behind. Before he could even look at himself in the mirror, knock knock. The door in the distance had a knocking as a voice echoed out. The healer has arrived in the room, and the treatment is about to begin, sir. Everything was ready. Feeling a tinge of apprehension, Achilles walked out without bothering about anything else. Inside the VIP room, there was now the addition of another person, an advanced human of the middle-tier body modification. She had on a white robe, and her golden hair glistened under the hood. The healer, Suine. Her eyes were calm and filled with curiosity as she looked up from the bed where Rose lay and towards the figure of Achilles coming out. Her eyes flashed with surprise as she looked at him up and down. The nurses inside the room also not being able to help but stare at Achilles and give him sidelong glances as he currently looked dashing. The clothes he wore and his figure, paired with his slightly above-average face, made him emanate an air of pressure and elegance in this somber moment. The healer only nodded toward him before she looked to confirm with Dr. Hendricks and the managing director in the room. It was only after she received nods all around that a green-gold light began to shine on her hands as she spoke out. I will begin administering treatment to the patient named Rose Adrian. The toxin affecting her body is a low-level poison that will be removed, with all of its negative effects reversed within a minute. The patient has been in an induced coma this whole time, so I do advise against excessive stimulus to be applied as they wake and return to their old self. Give them time. She spoke calmly as around her body, an intense green-gold light rose and increased in intensity more and more. And the light concentrated itself in her hands as Achilles watched all of this carefully. The time that he had been waiting for. The moment about he had paid dearly for. The reason why he went into the catacombs and faced beasts that he had never faced before. It seemed like a distant dream that was playing out to fruition as the healer was a professional who did not delay. Her hands rising up and shooting out a holy beam of golden green light that descended onto Rose's body. BZZT. Her body jerked slightly as she received this light of power and healing. A pained expression appearing on her face as Achilles almost shot forward. Just a moment to her pain as her body expels the toxins, then begins a process of healing. The voice of the healer rang out grandly as she continued, the intensity of the light she released only increasing with every passing second, to the extent that this entire room became bathed with a blinding green-gold light. Even the nurses had all closed their eyes and looked away as if this was routine, while Dr. Hendricks and Dr. Nigel watched what was occurring with shining eyes. One was a father and the director of his hospital, an advanced human, while the other was a daughter, a normal human. To them, this was routine and something they had seen multiple times in the past. To Achilles, it was a momentous occasion as he would never be able to forget the radiance of this green-gold light that went on to bathe Rose. The gray color on her skin rapidly receded. The unhealthy expression and pain on her face rapidly faded. At the same time as this occurred, Dr. Hendricks near the bed pushed on multiple buttons as the 4 tubes connected to Rose began to fill with green and blue serums that entered her body en masse. Due to this, even her skin began to glow. Gradually, her fair skin gained a rosy expression of health as on her head. Where the bold spots used to be, dark strands of hair physically began to grow in real time. It was an astonishing feat of medical advancement paired with the wonders of the Evolution's crystals and other resources found within the Evolution's catacombs. Achilles watched all of this with rapt attention as after a passage of a full minute, the light from the healer died down entirely as on the hospital bed. The figure of an astonishingly gorgeous young woman could be seen lying silently. Vibrant serums and medicine continued to enter her body as her skin occasionally glowed with astonishing radiance. But her expression remained calm and her eyes never opened. There was a stunned silence from many in the room, with only Achilles being excluded as he knew Rose. He had seen her before. He had even watched her sleep. But those here were now truly seeing her for the first time. Holy shit! A nurse dropped her clipboard as she couldn't help but stare in astonishment at the face of the woman on the hospital bed. Her dark hair, her slightly pained but calm face. Not just the nurses, but even Dr. Hendricks and the middle-tier advanced human healer were taken aback at the ridiculous standard of beauty expressed by the young woman on the hospital bed. There were pretty celebrities. There were models. More often than not, there were times when people exaggerated the beauty of others or went on to describe some with jade-like skin and long legs and on and on. There were exaggerations, yes. But this far exceeded any possible bounds of exaggeration as the young woman on that hospital bed quite literally caused everything and everyone to stop and stare. It was a calamitous level of beauty to the extent that Dr. Hendricks shook her head incredulously while asking the healer, "Has your ability advanced this much after becoming a middle-tier advanced human?" Was it due to her? But the healer shook her head right after blankly as she replied, "I only returned things to their previous, healthier state. I didn't cause that." It was an answer followed by a heavy silence. It was the day that a calamitous beauty was reborn. A type of beauty that was so ridiculous that it could cause a calamity. This was no exaggeration at this moment, as nurses and doctors alike were stopped in their tracks. And it was only after they saw Achilles going beside the bed and holding onto Rose's hand that they came out of their stupor. Dr. Hendricks and the nurses approached the bed as they checked on multiple things. After a few seconds, the healer nodded as if she had finished a measurement and turned to Achilles. The treatment was successful as the poison was not something too high level. There should not be any residual effects remaining in her body. As for all the medicine that she was pumped with, she will likely be twice as strong as any normal human for the next few months, at least. She should be waking up at any time as her body and mind will acclimate. And I don't know if you realized it, but your eyes have been releasing a terrifying purple light this whole time. You will scare her if she wakes up to that. You can relax now. She'll be okay. It was only now that Achilles realized his heart was beating fast as he touched the side of his eyes to feel the luminescence of purple brilliance that had its source as the Evolution's crystals he assimilated. He controlled himself as the purple brilliance gradually died down, and he looked seriously at the golden-haired healer. "Thank you." 2 words, but they were heartfelt as they came from the bottom of his heart. The golden-haired healer nodded with a smile as she waved her hands towards nurses and doctors within the room, taking one last glance at Rose before she stepped out. "We will just keep monitoring the vitals for now. There's nothing else you all can do, so simply give the patient and the guardian their space." After confirming a few more things, Dr. Hendricks waved the nurses and her father out as the room gradually began to clear. As he left, the managing director, Dr. Nigel, turned towards Achilles with a smile. "It was a pleasure to aid in the process of helping your family member. The Brightmoor Hospital works closely with many advanced humans, so dash. Father, get out and give them their space." A sharp rebuke came from Dr. Hendricks as he coughed and nodded before his cane tapped the floor and left. Dr. Hendricks was the last to leave as she sighed, looking into the well-lit room where a young man held the hand of a young woman who would likely wake soon. She didn't know. She did not know that this moment she contributed to bringing to fruition truly was the origin point of a calamity that would envelop all of the colony city of Neon and make way for something unimaginable. But at this point in time, it was just a young man and a young woman inside a hospital room. A door closed, and a silence came. Beep, beep, beep. A small beeping sound rang out every now and then, but its frequency actually caused Achilles to ease his heart as he looked at Rose. Her history was even more tragic than him. She lost her own parents a few years before Achilles in another ley line fracture. A similar theme for how many normal humans lost their lives within colony cities. But she didn't let this overwhelm her, and she worked hard to provide for herself. Achilles' mom and Rose worked in the same general hospital just a few dozen miles away from here, and his mom saw how difficult Rose had it all alone as she began inviting her to their place after work just to eat together and be with other people. She was hesitant at first, but his mom's infectious personality won her over. Her visits became more frequent. Her smile gradually returned. Achilles got to know her from then, and there were 2 years of such peace, and then another ley line fracture. Achilles' parents died, and he found himself alone. At that point in time, Rose looked at him as a barely grown kid, and she seemed to see herself in him. She didn't want him to go through the same loneliness that she went through, so she took him to live with her. She helped him. He helped her, and they lived their lives working odd jobs in a world filled with monsters and terrifying advanced humans who made more in a minute than they both made in a year. They had their own little world, until it was disrupted with yet another catacomb ley line fracture. From this, he nearly lost her too. The risk of losing her would have destroyed him as to save her. He entered the evolutionist catacombs as a normal human with a nearly guaranteed chance of death. The risk had paid off, and here he was. Rose. He called out her name. She had her eyes closed as if in a deep sleep this whole time, and Achilles' voice caused her to frown as she actually grabbed the bed for sheets that she covered her head with, and she turned to the side. An action that caused him to get up in alarm as he called out again. Rose. His voice was loud this time, as after it rang out, the figure covering her ears with a sheet sat up while rubbing her eyes and grumbling. Bah, little fatty, why are you screaming so early? Her voice trailed off. She blinked. She brought her hands down as if she finally remembered something, and she stood up on the hospital bed as she yelled out. Little fatty, there were monsters. Her voice stopped again as she looked around. She saw the hospital room, the 4 tubes still attached to her hands, the hospital gown she wore. She blinked again as she looked to the side of the bed, where she saw Achilles, who was smiling with watery eyes. She saw his figure in a suit they should never be able to afford as she bent down towards him and whispered while looking around cautiously. Little fatty, are we dead? Little fatty, a nickname only one person called him, something that he heard from nobody else. Years ago, he was just a little chubby. A little. After Rose came to their place frequently enough, she began calling him this name, and she stuck with it even when they were living together. He finally heard it again after all these days as he couldn't help but reach out to hold her. Rose was surprised, but as she felt Achilles' silence and remembered his expression, she calmed down and patted his head as she seemed to think about many things. She then asked in a low voice, Little fatty, I was attacked by an evolutionist beast, right? Her voice was low. Achilles heard her clearly as he continued to embrace her and nodded. How long have I been out? She was asking all the critical questions as Achilles let go of her and looked straight into her eyes in reply. Just a few days. A few days. If these days stretched out any longer, the poison would have killed her. She blinked and nodded as she then looked around the hospital room. How wide it was. The vibrant multicolored tubes on the bed she was on. The purple glowing stones in the ceiling. She looked at all of this as her gaze changed, and she asked in a low tone again. Little fatty, all of this seems super expensive for a little bite. Why did you put me in a room like this? The money, little fatty. Did you sell your organs? Go into debt. We can't afford this on our salaries. Oh, and my job. Have they already replaced me? She began rambling with anxiousness and worry as she noticed just how expensive everything in the room was, and Achilles couldn't help but smile at how she seemed exactly the same as he spoke out. I awakened. Rose stopped entirely and froze. I became an advanced human. Her wide eyes blinked while looking at him, and she squinted her eyes in suspicion as if she didn't believe him. He shook his head while raising his right hand and causing it to glow with a purple radiance. The same radiance as an evolutionist crystal. Oh, Rose looked at such a light in shock as she reached out to grab his hand, looking at it from all angles before she looked towards him. "So you awakened?" She sat back on the bed and had a bright smile as she said this. And Achilles thought he saw a flash of sadness in that smile as he quickly dismissed it while nodding. "Yeah, I can help us out with everything now. After we leave here, I've already contacted someone to look into an advanced human complex for us to live in." "I dash. Little fatty." Rose interrupted him with a smile as she looked at everything. She saw all the richness around her as she asked, "You know what I'm really craving right now? Our apartment. I left behind 2 spicy ramen packets. That's what I really want right now." Her voice was light as she looked around, and seeing the tubes all around the bed, she asked while looking around, "Is there a nurse we can call to get discharged? I don't know what they have been pumping through these tubes, but I feel like I could run a marathon right now." She raised her hand and clenched her fists as Achilles looked at her closely before he nodded, pressing on a side button on the bed as seconds later, Dr. Hendricks walked back in. Her eyes lit up as she saw the figure of Rose, a pen light being clicked on her hands as she came forward and shone it on Rose's eyes. "Miss Rose, how are you feeling? Any dizziness or headaches? Any trouble moving your body?" Rose blinked while moving her body around as she shook her head. "No, everything feels more than normal. We were wondering about the discharge process." Dr. Hendricks blinked at such a question before she nodded. "We sometimes like to keep you for an extra day, just for observation, but the treatment you received was top tier as there shouldn't be any issues. I'll get everything going." With those words, a bundle of activity began to bloom as nurses were called in to get everything ready. Achilles was kicked out of the room as Rose got ready, and he waited outside the door like a bodyguard as after less than 20 minutes, Rose walked out. She had been given a few pieces of clothing that were complimentary, but she asked for one additional thing that she wore right now. A hoodie that covered her head and half of her face, and blue jeans with running shoes. She came beside Achilles and grabbed his hand as she looked around. "Let's get out of here." Those nurses and doctor kept on giving me glances again and again. Do I look that bad after just a few days of being in a coma? Achilles nearly rolled his eyes at her words as he led her towards the elevator and out of the Brightborn hospital. Just like before, she liked to hide her face and figure with a hoodie or baseball cap wherever she went. Her looks were always a problem, even in the past, and she didn't know how this became an even bigger problem after she was healed. But in Achilles' eyes, she was just Rose. Once they were out of the hospital, Rose was already looking for the signs to head to the bus terminal, but Achilles resolutely rejected this as he wanted her to feel the same thing he felt not too long ago. He called for an aerial evolutionist vehicle and jumped into it before Rose could even raise a complaint, and they were taken to the skies a moment later. The rays of a golden sun were now out and shining over everything, bypassing the massive transparent barrier in the skies. Rose had her hands by the window as she looked at the austere scene from the inside of a flying car for the first time, but her expression was a somber one as she seemed to be thinking about too many things. She stared out at the other flying vehicles and buildings they passed as they gradually went from high-rise tall buildings and towards the poorer areas of the city of Neon, and she asked Achilles slowly, "Little fatty, just what will you do now?" "What do you do now?" This was a question that even Achilles did not think too deeply about yet, but he knew it was one that he needed to think about. The power he awakened. What he could do. He knew what he should do, but at the same time, he looked at Rose as he shook his head and sighed. "I am not too sure, but as an awakened human, what did awakened humans do?" The answer was very clear, and Rose had an expression of sadness when she thought about it. The danger, the possible deaths. In such a melancholic mood, the aerial evolutionist vehicle arrived at their neighborhood in front of a 2-story apartment complex, with this area only having this single flying car descending as all other cars were on the ground. Kids moving about the streets looked up in shock alongside clusters of men and women here, as those who lived in these regions would not ever get inside a car like this. Even the driver who followed the GPS turned to them as they got out. You two are sure this is your destination? He was looking around cautiously and with a sense of disgust in his eyes, as he would be tainted by the level of poverty here. Rose looked towards this driver coldly as she replied while pulling Achilles away. Yeah, we're sure. She kept her gaze down while ignoring the looks of others, going toward the door on the first level of this complex and putting in a 6-number code. The door became unlocked as she breathed in the same air she remembered, going inside as Achilles followed. It feels like I left just yesterday. Come on, little fatty. I'll make you some ramen. You didn't finish them, did you? She walked around their place freely. Their 2-bedroom apartment with a single shared bathroom and a small living room. Achilles watched her moving about busily in silence before he asked cautiously, "Are we not going to talk about it?" His words stopped her in her tracks in the kitchen as she was already reaching into the cupboard to pull out 2 packets of ramen. She stopped in place, pulling her hoodie down and turning to look at him. She didn't seem capable of meeting his gaze as she spoke out with a mixture of emotions. "I don't know how much you went through just to be able to save me, little fatty. I was happy to just see you again. I'm happy even now. I can't even begin to thank you because I don't know how much you suffered. I want to ask you how hard you worked to obtain all that money. If you were hurt, if you were scared. I want to ask you all of this, but I'm even more scared of what comes next after all this." What came next? She seemed scared for the future as Achilles shook his head and walked towards her. "There's nothing to be scared of. You took care of me in the past. Let me take care of you now." He spoke to calm any fear she held, but he saw her eyes tearing up more at his words as she shook her head. "Take care of me? You're an advanced human now. How am I going to live day in and day out as you brave monsters and death? Shall I just wait for you here, in this apartment, every single day, hoping and praying that you will come back? If you don't fight monsters, there are possibly other safer jobs you could do, but how do I fit in your new world, little fatty?" How did she fit into his new world? Into his status as an advanced human? "Someone like me will only hold you back now, little fatty. I don't dash. Stop." Achilles went forward and came to stand right before her. His eyes held seriousness and even a trace of anger as he spoke out earnestly. "What do you mean, how will you fit in my new world? This whole time, you have been the one constant for me. You have been my world." Rose's eyes opened wide as she looked up at him in shock. She then raised her hand and pointed to him accusingly. "You? I told you not to say things like that. I told you to find someone your own age. I'm already an old woman at 24, and you just turned 21. As an awakened human, you can find rows of girls lining up for you. So stop letting misplaced feelings hold you back." She nearly shouted this out as she revealed something else about their relationship. Achilles was entirely and completely smitten with Rose since the first day he met her. He had even told her how he felt in the past, but she had said something similar to what she just said now, and called him too young to understand if what he felt was love. Today, he looked at her again seriously and spoke out even more freely than before. "I don't need anyone else. I only need you." His eyes were intense. Rose looked into them as tears couldn't help but drop from her eyes. Paired with her beauty, if anyone actually saw her right now, they may just ask for a duel to the death on the one who made her cry. She wiped her tears away as she spoke out in a low tone. I just want you to be happy, little fatty. All those who stayed around me for too long are either dead or hate me. I want to take care of you just long enough before I hurt you too. But you made it so hard, fatty." Her tears continued to fall freely as she actually showed a bit of anger in her eyes. At the same time, Achilles blinked as he could swear he saw a green glint in her eyes. Do you know how you make a girl feel when you tell them that they are your world? When you say things like that, you give them hope for impossible things. You make someone dream that just maybe, but how can it be possible? You, now even advanced human, and me, She let out a shout of frustration as she felt like she was releasing all her emotions out. As she did so, along with her shout, her hair began to dance as green flames erupted around her head. Achilles watched all of this unfolding in shock as he nearly took a step back. "You?" He called out to her as she shook her head and snapped. "Me what? You said things like that. Why can't I?" Her eyes carried a literal fiery light. Her pupils adopted a green hue of brilliance. Achilles looked at this with a mixture of emotions and pointed at her as he spoke out with amazement while staring at her head. "You're on fire." Rose looked back at him with confusion. "I'm on fire? What the heck are you?" She raised her hand to her head, and when it came off, green flames danced on her fingers as she screamed out, "I'm on fire." The moment she noticed the green flames on her hand, the tongues of green flames around her head became even more intense, as if responding to her emotions. They roared to life as Achilles, who was right in front of her, felt the searing heat of these flames, and yet they seemed harmless to her, as her skin and hair only shone with verdant luminosity. Green flames. Seeing them seething around her, Achilles felt a burst of joy as he knew Rose should have just awakened. But of course, from her perspective, seeing the sudden burst of flames. "Little fatty, fire extinguisher! Fire extinguisher!" She screamed out while backing away from him, almost as if she didn't want him to be hurt by these flames as well. But Achilles did not move a step back, as he only laughed with a bright smile. "You?" Rose instantly caught on. Why would this guy who always looked at her with those types of eyes not be scrambling anxiously if she was ever in danger? He didn't think she was in danger, so he stood still. But she was still on fire. If she was not in danger, and flames were dancing on her body that she didn't feel any scorching heat from. Her mouth opened in a cute O as she patted her head again. She felt the flames dancing on her bead twirl around her fingers, going on to get bigger and bigger as they enveloped her whole hand. No way. She stared at this in disbelief as on her hands. When she imagined the flame could get bigger, it blazed higher. When she wanted it to disappear, it disappeared. "Little fatty, I think I've awakened." Rose stared at such a scene in a stupor before her eyes turned sharp. Even though she saw the flames appear and disappear right in front of her body, she still didn't fully believe it. Awakening at 24? 6 years after the age of awakening? Many of those her age and older had long since given up hope for something like this, as it was simply impossible. A dream, almost too good to be true. Her sharp eyes that now had gorgeous green pupils became even more intense as she spoke out blankly. "Little fatty, are you sure we really didn't die? This isn't some sort of simulation." She wanted to believe it. She wanted it to be true. In her daze, she heard Achilles' voice near her as he reached out to touch the flames on her head. "Looks real enough to me." He pulled back his hand that showed a dark scorch mark. Rose instantly pulling back a few inches as if she had heard him as he laughed it off and showed her his fingers that rapidly healed from the slight burn mark. "Something like this won't do much to me." "But Rose, this changes a few things, does it not?" She awakened. She was just telling him how she didn't want to hold him back as an advanced human. But now, Rose became silent as she looked at her hands in contemplation. She thought, and she thought again. After a few seconds, her eyes filled with determination as she met Achilles' eyeline. "Are you really serious? Do you really want to waste your time on an older woman like me?" She asked in such a low tone that her voice could barely be heard. When Achilles heard this, he was baffled as he shook his head. "I really need you to stop talking like that. Putting aside exactly who you are as a person, have you seen yourself?" He pointed at her up and down, as if he was observing something obvious. And yet Rose squinted her eyes as she harumphed and spoke jokingly. "So what if I'm a little ugly? You have to bring my looks into this." She still had the energy to joke. Achilles sighed as he walked up to her with a serious gaze. And every step he took, she moved a step back, until her back hit the kitchen wall. Her head couldn't help but turn down as she looked at the floor, her head bursting into gorgeous green flames as Achilles was right before her. He turned her head up towards him. He pushed her dark hair to the side as it began dancing with flames, expressing her nervousness and hectic emotions. A burning pain was felt in Achilles' hand, and yet he withstood it without a word as he looked deeply into her eyes while telling her how he felt. "In this world, I only want you. I'm not wasting my time. I'm not playing around." He made himself clear, undeniably clear, as she looked deeply into his eyes. Her own eyes began to water as she couldn't help but throw herself into his arms. Dumb. She felt the beat of his heart. She felt her own beating heart. It was beating frantically like a rabbit as the verdant flames around her head spread over her body. Achilles felt the woman in his arms as he felt like he had used up all of his courage. But had it truly paid off? He was even more scared than when he faced a nest of black spiders. But she was truly in his arms as at this moment. He heard her voice that was a bit more than a whisper. "Don't hurt me, little fatty. I can be very vindictive, you know." She wiped her tears as she spoke, looking at him with a serious glare after that, as she was a head shorter than him. He was going to tell her how he would never hurt her, but, he blinked while looking at her small body. Her hoodie and green jeans were burning along with the green flames that spread around her as parts of her radiant white skin were laid bare. She looked at him in confusion before she gazed down, and when she saw her disintegrating clothes, her cheeks turned a shade of pink as she ran towards her room while yelling out, "Little fatty, find me clothes that won't burn, please." Achilles looked at her disappearing figure while shaking his head, shouting out himself as he stepped on the burning shreds of clothes on the floor. "Don't burn this place down." Even as he shouted this, he had a wide smile on his face. His heart felt heavy but so supremely free, as if he had obtained the whole world in his hands. At this moment, anything else that he received would just be extra. "I cannot believe you have me wearing a men's suit." In the living room, Rose was checking the fit of the black pants and white shirt that came out of a compressed packet. They seemed to close around her body for a nice fit as her utterly gorgeous figure looked magnetizing even in this. Achilles slurped the last of the ramen that Rose had made as he replied, "They're clothes that advanced humans wear, and the only thing I can think of if you accidentally burst into flames again. How is the control of the flames going?" He asked again to be sure, as he definitely could not have her burn her clothes in the middle of the streets. At his question, Rose raised her fist triumphantly as a ball of flames burst around it. "Little fatty, I might be a genius at this. I think of it like moving my hand or finger. The flames become an extension of me, but I can extend them outwards or cause them to burn even hotter. I haven't gotten the hang of it yet, but I think it is possible to make the flames not emit any heat so that even if they are covering all of my body, they won't do any damage to what I'm wearing." Her eyes twinkled with brilliance as when he looked at her like this, he couldn't help but be dazed. But he refocused on the matter at hand as he nodded. "Okay, but are you sure about what we're doing from here?" They had discussed where to go from here, as Rose nodded in affirmation right after. "Yep, I'll get evaluated, and you can then take me to the catacombs that gave you such a ridiculous amount of money to splurge. More than $1.5 million for my treatment. And you made it in a few hours? Do you know how many shit-ridden hospital beds those are? How many years of working? I want to see these monsters that are so valuable than a decade of work for myself." She was pumped up, but for the wrong reasons. Achilles could only shake his head with a smile as he asked again, "And you're sure about staying in this apartment? We could be in a complex where other advanced humans reside. State-of-the-art everything. Since I told you that I would take care of you, I want to give you the best of everything." He was entirely serious as he said this, and Rose rolled her eyes as she left her seat and walked up behind him. She wrapped her arms around his chest as she rested her head on his shoulders, her eyes filled with ease and contentment as she looked around their place. "Little fatty, what is the best of everything is subjective. Right now, I just want to be here with you for a little longer. It's familiar. We're used to it. What's a few more days or weeks in the place we've called home this whole time? What is a few more days or weeks?" He repeated this in his mind and nodded as he took out his phone. "All right then, I'll see if I can get our ride and your evaluation arranged." "Oh, little fatty can already have things arranged with just a phone call." She was curious just how much had changed as she saw Achilles pull out a card with a name and a number, and he put the number in his phone before he began to text it. She looked at the name. "Amanda, is it? From the Golden Trading Company." She raised her brows at this as green flames rose around her fingertips. Achilles felt the heat as he almost laughed. Just someone that aided in changing the evolutionist crystals to cash. They seem to value advanced humans they consider to be powerful, and I got on their radar because of how quickly I gathered the evolutionist crystals alone. They'll arrange for everything. The Golden Trading Company. Rose repeated this in her head and nodded. We will have to be careful how much we show others then. Oh, and you never told me your power. Just what exactly did you awaken to enter an evolutionist catacomb alone, and even be confident enough to take me along without issues? What power did he awaken? It was so surreal to even describe as he sent the text to Amanda while beginning to explain. As of now, the Advanced Human Evaluation Center has me down as a physical reinforcement advanced human, but what I really have is something I can only describe as assimilation. He explained slowly. Between Rose and him, there would be no secrets. In front of the Advanced Human Evaluation Center, where Achilles had been evaluated, it was 5 stories tall and bigger than a football stadium, with the same crescent moon of the Linares overseers enacted brightly above it. At this moment, the sharp figure of Amanda was looking at her phone while humming as she thought of the investment she was following up on. An investment to the Golden Trading Company, advanced humans, evolutionist beasts, evolutionist crystals, and many more things could be investments. Depending on a rate of return, they could strike gold in multiple places. As at this moment, Amanda thought that director Johnny Riker had truly dug gold. A solo advanced human who can pull in that much evolutionist crystals now says he needs a family member evaluated? I will gladly arrange everything and hook both of you in. The only question is the other one just like you, Mr. Maxwell? I'm excited. She put her phone away as she saw the car she had sent out to pick them up was arriving. An aerial evolutionist vehicle slowly descended from above and hummed with a blue glow at the bottom, its doors automatically opening upwards as a young man she recognized stepped out first. He seemed to have purpose in his eyes as he looked around before he put his hand inside the car and helped out someone else, the other newly awakened advanced human. Amanda's eyes lit up as she looked at the person who stepped out. A woman in a suit she was familiar with, and she had a baseball cap on as if she was trying to hide her face. But Amanda caught a glimpse, and her jaws opened wide in astonishment at what she saw. That is wholly unfair. Amanda could not help but utter out as she saw the girl. Her mesmerizing green eyes. Her head was full of dark hair spinning out of the baseball cap. Her figure that the black suit pants and white shirt wrapped around as if they were blessed just to be there. There could actually be someone this beautiful in this world. Amanda shook her head with incredulity as she remembered the advanced human models and superstars who rose to prominence just on looks alone. And she began to get excited as she realized when she pictured them. All were dull compared to the one she saw right now. Holy freaking shit, this is more than striking gold. She already imagined all the deals she could make on behalf of the Golden Trading Company. The designer goods, the high-tier fashion brands. Alchemists and neo-blacksmiths will go crazy to put her face on their brand. She imagined a glorious future as she walked up to them with a skip in her step. Mr. Maxwell, is this the one who needs to be evaluated? Her eyes shone with stars as she arrived before Rose, causing her to pull back cautiously as Achilles raised his brows in reply. Yes, this is Rose. Rose Adrian. As I mentioned on the phone, we would love a private room for the evaluation. And as quickly as things could be. He didn't want any possible issues to arise as he specified this. And Amanda nodded, while peeking behind him as if she wanted to look at Rose more as she coughed and composed herself. Ahem. Yes, please follow me. The tall building of the evaluation center could be daunting for many, but as long as one knew where to go, everything became easy. They were led across the halls and towards the proper area they needed to be, with Rose carefully looking around curiously without showing her face much. After a few minutes, here we are. They arrived in an isolated part of the large auditorium, a room with a few dummies in the distance with the walls lined up with a black and white reinforced material. Inside the room, Johnny Riker could be seen rolling up his sleeves as he held a tablet, smiling toward Achilles and the young woman behind him as he spoke. I actually thought that I would see you back soon, but not for this reason. Oh, Achilles raised his brows questioningly as Johnny Riker nodded. Yes, You sold middle-tier evolutionist crystals to Amanda as naturally. You had to have defeated a middle-tier evolutionist beast for such a thing. In addition to the initial evaluation of your friend here, we could also add a reassessment for you, if you wish. A reassessment, to be reevaluated to a higher rank of an advanced human. Achilles only thought for a moment before he shook his head. Let's just do the evaluation for Rose here. Yes, he didn't need to stand out too much if he could, especially when considering Rose and how easily she could draw attention. He even had reservations about bringing her here, but she was excited to get her own evaluation and ranking as they came along. After all, this would also make many things smooth later on. Johnny Riker smiled at Achilles' words knowingly and nodded. Then I will just need to scan your friend's code here. Behind Achilles, Rose pushed out her phone as he grabbed it and showed it to Johnny. A scan was quickly completed as an old picture of Rose appeared on the tablet. Miss Rose Adrian, you're a late bloomer, just like Mr. Maxwell here. What area does your ability fall into? Johnny was professional as he didn't show his surprise at the beauty shown in the picture, and he was prepared as Amanda had already sent him multiple texts relaying the situation. Behind Achilles, Rose peeked her head out as she spoke questioningly. Fire-based, two words that caused Johnny Riker's eyes to shine even more as he nodded, wondering what fire attribute factor she awakened. Okay, we have dummies that have defenses at the level of low-tier evolutionist beasts right ahead. As long as you can get through it or cause some damage, we can assign you the rank of a low-tier body modification advanced human. With your fire attribute, you'll further be distinguished as an elemental advanced human. He spoke curtly while stepping aside, the cameras in the corner of the room focusing as Rose slowly walked out from behind Achilles. Her cap hid her face from the cameras above as she arrived at the center of the room. She breathed out her nervousness as she looked at one of the dummies in the distance. This whole time, she had been telling her green flames not to act out or cause any damage if they did. But now, she calmed herself as she imagined, wanting to put a scratch on the target dummy ahead. A little burn. With this thought in mind, she raised her hand instinctively and closed one eye as she thought about a small burst of flame flying out and hitting the target dummy ahead. From her hand, a strand of dazzling green flames erupted and flew out like an arrow. Supremely accurate, they landed on the head of the target dummy and latched on while burning slightly. But they didn't do much else as Rose blinked ahead in confusion. She thought she could at least burn a portion of boom in the next moment. As if the material of the target dummy was some unfathomably reactive and combustible material, a burst of gorgeous, verdant flames erupted out and engulfed it entirely. These flames raging up and around as they even landed on the dummies beside the central one. A roar of scorching flames erupted as heavy winds whipped, the cap on Rose flying off as she looked ahead in shock. Her hair came loose. Her ridiculously gorgeous face became free for all to see. And the scene of the scorching storm of flames and her visage were captured by the cameras above. Inside an isolated room, green flames engulfed target dummies in a shocking fashion before, in the next moment, they began breaking down and turning into ash. The scene was captured by the cameras on the four sides of the room as the radiant verdant flames and their incandescent radiance spread out. Alongside, the image of the surprised young woman with her cap that flew back, her fingers still showing green dancing flames. This was one isolated room within the Advanced Human Evaluation Center. This tall building had many other rooms as inside of a room on the third floor. Many screens showed images and video feeds that should all be privately saved in government servers. And yet, there were areas in the Advanced Human Evaluation Center where organizations resided for the purposes of welcoming and recruiting other advanced humans. Normally, they were not supposed to get the video feeds of the things occurring within the evaluation center. Normally. But when one had tremendous power and influence, many more things were possible. Like observing all advanced humans being evaluated in real time, or putting in certain search parameters that once met, they would be notified of a certain video or feed. Inside of a room like this, there was a man in a sleek blue suit, his hair also a radiant blue color, just like his pupils. He held the stature of a rich prince with his gaze and mannerisms alone, as at this moment, he was looking at a video feed. But this was interrupted as a video feed of relevance to certain parameters he had set down was made available to him on another screen, and he clicked on it right away. There, on the screen, the scene of a woman with a baseball cap on was seen as she unleashed a tendril of green flames. This alone causing the eyes of the man watching to light up brilliantly in surprise. He looked at the color closely as he confirmed he truly was watching a green flame. And he saw what happened next as a storm of green flames emerged from a single tendril to destroy everything. It was radiant, iridescent. This a unique, advanced human, an elemental one at that. Who is? His voice was choked off. His figure rose from a tall chair as his mouth hung open, his eyes frozen as he legitimately forgot to breathe. He saw the cameras focusing on the one responsible for the destruction. Her face covered the screen as it showed nervousness and shock, but it was clear for all to see. And such a face made this blue-eyed man literally forget to breathe. BZZT. Moments later, blue lightning crackled around him as on his body. A radiant blue vessel, like river, flashed on his right hand brilliantly. It looked like a massive artery or vein. It was a meridian. For advanced humans, they could be low tier, middle tier, and upper tier body modification. After body modification came meridian transformation. Some also called it meridian awakening, since one woke up meridians within their bodies to further transform themselves. There was lesser meridian transformation, greater meridian transformation, and peak meridian transformation that were all differentiated based on how many meridians one awakened in their bodies. They were powerhouses that regularly raided the deeper areas of catacombs, the single-number entrances that led into hordes of evolutionous beasts. A single lesser meridian transformation advanced human could easily crush any body modification advanced human or beast. Easily. Such a being only now remembered how to breathe as he shook his head with incredulity. What the hell? A shout of disbelief at what he was looking at. Was that real? Could such a person actually exist? He was starstruck as he watched that face on the screen, his heart racing as the lightning around him crackled with even greater ferocity. I want her. He croaked out with bright eyes as his hands began to move, already making a phone call. He was a recruiter who was a part of one of the 3 renowned trading companies in the city of Neon. There was the Golden Trading Company, the Noblesse, and the Titan Industries. He belonged to the Titan Industries, and he held a high level of versatility within it as recently he was making his own strike team to raid evolutionous catacombs. He hung around different advanced human evaluation centers every single day to see if any newly awakened advanced humans would catch his eye, and he had actually been successful in getting 2 upper-tier body modifications and 1 lesser meridian transformation advanced human. For the remaining team members, he had set the parameters of a woman, and for them to be long-ranged. What he saw now was far more than that as his eyes flashed with a light of obsession, having already made a call as he spoke into the phone. Give me everything there is to know on the woman in video feed number 135. Everything. And his voice stopped as he saw on the video. A man appeared behind the utterly gorgeous woman that nobody should ever touch, his hand landing on her shoulder as if to calm her down as he put her cap that had flown out back on her head. When he saw this, his expression instantly became ugly, as if something dear to him was taken away. Who the hell is that? His voice carried a rising rage within it as he put on his suit jacket, shooting out towards the door with his eyes filled with purpose. Back in that isolated evaluation room, Achilles appeared beside Rose, who instantly came to herself, raising her hands and focusing as the raging storm of flames ahead of them rapidly began to fade away as if they never existed. All that was left behind was ash and dust. She had not expected such a heavy reaction from the dummies as she swallowed her surprise, looking toward Achilles as she asked, "It will be okay with just that, right?" Rose knew she had somewhat caused a mess as in the distance. Even the figure of the evaluator, Johnny, was staring in a stupor. Achilles nodded to calm her down as he looked towards Johnny, who shook his head with incredulity while speaking. That type of damage almost put you at the level of an upper-tier body modification advanced human, but I cannot assign a rank like that. So the most I can do is middle-tier body modification advanced human ranking. It's also a unique category of fire elemental, as green flames like that are not commonly seen. You will have to undergo a verification with someone higher ranking than me if you want. No need, the middle-tier evaluation is enough. Rose waved her hands dismissively as she wanted this process to be over, with Johnny shaking his head wryly at this as he tapped on his tablet for a second. Outside of the room, Amanda was peeking through a glass screen with wide eyes of shock. Done. Though I must warn you all, Johnny breathed out as he finished his task and looked at Achilles and Rose. So far, you all have been working with and forming a relationship with Amanda and I, and we stem from the Golden Trading Company. I will take this moment to personally and officially extend an invitation to you both to join the Golden Trading Company. Advanced human housing, selection of strike teams, information on all encountered evolutionist beasts and their weaknesses, and so much more. As he spoke, he became serious while looking at them and continued. Both of you are newly awakened, so you may not know too much, but about 90% of all advanced humans in the colony city of Neon belong to certain organizations. Above all the things I mentioned, it also provides protection from other forces. Others who will also try to recruit you after you leave here. Fortunately or unfortunately, the government forbids the contractual binding of newly awakened advanced humans until at least a week passes. Gives them time to acclimate and learn everything as best as they can before they decide. This means that you all may still face harassment of recruitment over the next few days until you can be contracted under any power. Of course, apart from the major organizations, you can even sign with the government, as they have their own offers. But be careful and decisive soon, and once you make up your mind, just give us a call. Johnny Riker explained carefully as Achilles became stern at all the inflow of information, and just what it meant. He looked at Rose, who gazed back at him with a face that said sorry, and he couldn't help but calm down as he thought about their next steps from here. Entry into the Evolutionist catacombs to test out even more things. And now, as he heard about the organizations and governments hungry for unique advanced humans, he felt the need to assimilate even more things. Why? Just to be safe. There were always horror stories with advanced humans. They protected the colony cities by clearing the evolutionist catacombs and ensuring the concentration of beasts did not get too high to eventually cause a catacomb ley line fracture, and they put their lives on the line when fractures did occur. But with all that power, they could also do whatever they wanted, and the consequences were very little. He looked at Rose as he thought of this. He looked at his world as just to be careful. He had to make sure he could protect it. And for now, having a backing until he became confident enough was not an issue. I am more inclined to look at the Golden Trading Company more, but we will make that decision as the week-long period ends. For now, his words caused Johnny Riker to explode with a beaming smile, as if he had hooked gold, and Achilles continued. For now, is it possible to get some information on the most unique or difficult to deal with evolutionist beasts within the entrance around our colony city? Oh, and also a storage device to hold evolutionist crystals. He was thinking and planning for the future. For his ability of assimilation, he saw himself making it even more powerful if he could assimilate things that were along the same line. The Arachnida already gave him their shocking abilities, but what if he assimilated even rarer and more difficult beasts? Of course, evolutionist crystals were currently sitting at number 1 in importance due to their regeneration and energy conversion, among other things. They were the source of power for the elevation of advanced humans. What would it mean if he assimilated and gained their qualities more and more? He didn't know for sure as he wasn't able to test it, but he had asked himself, if evolutionist crystals were used and absorbed to make advanced humans more powerful, and he assimilated their qualities, would he also be capable of doing the same? He didn't know for sure yet. But toward his question, Johnny Riker smiled. I may be breaking a few rules, but I can definitely share some preliminary details regarding a few evolutionist beasts and which catacomb entrance to enter for them. Johnny didn't ask why they were looking for unique or difficult evolutionist beasts. He knew what he should ask and not ask, as he quickly forwarded a document to Achilles' number. "I've sent over a list of some known difficult beasts. As for a storage device, to welcome the future members of the Golden Trading Company, I will have Amanda get an Evolution storage box ready for you guys. You're planning to enter the catacombs again soon." He probed a little as Achilles nodded, and he motioned for them to walk with him as they exited the room. "Then we'll get things ready. I'll escort you guys out because I know there might already be vultures who have seen Miss Rose's evaluation." Vultures? Achilles carefully thought about this while opening up the document to see the difficult beasts one could come across in the Evolution's catacombs. There were about a dozen, and each one had a few words under them as he began perusing. Polar bears, codename Ice Kings. Carnivorous nightshade, codename Poison Rulers. Black serpents, codename Basilisks. The names were unique, and there were more as Achilles perused through them while they exited the evaluation center. As Achilles perused the document that Johnny Riker had sent over, they came out to the open area of the evaluation center as Johnny and Amanda seemed to be looking around cautiously as if their greatest enemies could attack at any second. And truly so, advanced humans ranging from low to middle tier body modification began to walk over as soon as Rose was spotted, many of them having beaming smiles as they got ready to introduce the powers they belonged to for recruitment. But before any of them could even speak, BZZT, arcs of blue lightning flashed that emanated a profound sense of danger. Many advanced humans here feeling a stifling sense of pressure as a blue-haired man appeared. Even Achilles was forced to raise his gaze from his phone and turn towards the awe-inspiring power emanating in the distance. There, a blue-haired man had his hand shining brilliantly with a lit-up meridian as with every step he took. It felt like the floor below was creaking. The recruiters that just arrived from different groups and organizations turned sour at this, as some could not help but whisper, "What the hell?" They now have Meridian Transformation recruiters hanging around evaluation centers. One voice chirped in, "You dumb shit. That's not a Meridian Transformation recruiter. That's the one of the strike team leaders of Titan Industries. The Lightning Hand, Amos." Amos, the Lightning Hand, a Meridian Transformation advanced human, came over as his gaze ignored all others as if they did not exist, and he arrived not too far from Achilles while entirely ignoring him as he spoke towards Rose. "Rose Adrian, right? I have an advanced human contract ready for you here. A contract guaranteeing a $500 million sign-on bonus, a mansion in the celestial district of the city of Neon, and a guarantee to provide you with all the required Evolution crystals until you awaken your first meridian, among many other things. I just need your signature here to assure everything." Amos spoke with strength and power as he raised his right hand brimming with a meridian and held a tablet that just required a signature. He had reviewed the information about this Rose Adrian, a poor woman who should have just awakened recently, with much of her life being spent in poverty. But like all poor women, she was likely strong mentally. So he knew he could not break her and make her as easily as he started off with a bang. More money than she ever imagined in her dreams. Resources all the way to awakening her first meridian. This was just the first shot, as Amos had many more. The moment he said what he said, shocked gasps echoed out in the surroundings as by the side. Johnny Riker and Amanda had ashen expressions as Johnny Riker gripped his tablet while forcing himself to speak. "Mr. Amos, the government guarantees a 1-week period of time before any contract." Crack! A boom of thunder and lightning echoed out as Johnny Riker was flung back like a rag doll, his body smashing onto a glass wall and shattering it before he slid across the floor of the evaluation center. His body wheezed as his chest held a scorch mark, his eyes bright red as he was heavily injured. Everyone here turned ashen as the voice of the Lightning Hand, Amos, echoed out. "If anybody else does so much as raise their fucking voice, I won't be so kind." Stark silence filled this floor, as if there wasn't a single soul here. Some even began moving backwards away from this location. In a distant corner, a woman in a suit and sunglasses was calm as she sent a text to an unknown number, her suit marked with a half moon that represented a member of the government of the Linares Colony Overseers. In the following silence, Amos kept his gaze on Rose, whose head was leveled, her eyes covered by her baseball cap as, at this moment, she was close to Achilles. She felt his body turn and stand in front of her, her mind racing as she thought quickly before she reached out to grab his hand and turn him away. She then replied in a calm tone, "I thank you for the offer, but we haven't chosen to make a choice just yet. When we do, we will reach out." She kept her head down, but she caught the eyes of this man ahead of her. She had seen such eyes many times. Disgusting, possessive, filled with lust. She knew this man was nothing good, as with the reveal of his power. She also thought about how to move to make sure that nothing occurred against her or Achilles. To deal with men like these in the past, she had to change jobs many times. The bosses or supervisors would offer additional help if she just did what they said. For every single one, she turned down and quit right after, as men with these types of eyes made her life many times harder. But this one was an advanced human, and he was wild enough to injure an evaluator without even sparing a glance. Who is this? The voice of Amos rang out again, but it was filled with coldness as he looked toward Achilles that currently had Rose pulling his figure back. Amos stared at this as if his possession was touching something she should not, as if she was staining herself for touching something dirty. His eyes flashed with lightning as he looked at Achilles, who actually dared to look back at him and reply. Achilles Maxwell. He said his name clearly, as he seemed to hold a bigger backbone than many others here. "Oh, are you the brother? I could extend a subcontract to you as well." The eyes of Amos were cold as he spoke, but Achilles shook his head as Rose gripped his hand tighter. He saw the way this guy looked at Rose. Those eyes filled with clear lust and possessiveness.